station.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
After a night off, the Bruins will be back in action this evening at home against Nashville. The Bees have lost 6 out of 7. They're 2 points out of a playoff spot. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. A report from Sportsnet in Canada yesterday indicated that Brad Marchand's upper body injury may keep him out through Friday's trade deadline, but it is not expected to be a long-term problem. In football news, as expected, the Cincinnati Bengals placed a franchise tag again on wide receiver T. Higgins. Also, the Bengals have waived starting offensive lineman Alex Kappa. Philadelphia has released 34-year-old defensive back Darius Slay, and Minnesota will reportedly not use the franchise tag on quarterback Sam Darnold, but they still hope to re-sign him. The Red Sox and Baltimore Orioles played to a 6-6 exhibition tie in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. They're in scenic Bradenton, Florida today to play Pittsburgh. And Tony Clark, the head of Major League Baseball's Players Union, said yesterday he fully expects the owners to implement a lockout following the 2026 season. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Premier Basement Waterproofing. Get your basement protected now before the ground thaws and all that water seeps into your foundation. 844-LIVE-DRY or premierbasement.net. It's game over for water. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 98.5sportshub.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher.
Fred Toucher on Instagram. Follow and see dog humping videos.
And Hardy.
I'm going to withhold sex.
On 98.5.
Hello.
Hey there.
Yo. Can we use this for the radio? What? Let me hear you say, oh. Na 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 na.
Trust me, mommy.
Just not enough booty to go around?
Say my name.
I'm a robot.
I'm the son of the Pope.
I'll chase you around a little bit.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Instagram.
I want to dip it in, boy.
Toucher and Hardy.
Watch Daddy and Uncle Freddie.
Knocking back some fun. Having some fun.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go.
Outside the line. Missions do not make mistakes. Missions do not make mistakes.
Acapella. On an airplane.
Yeah.
No, boo. You're bad at it.
No.
That's not good voice at all. I'll tell you that. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. We are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Old Town Fair Tire Studios. You can watch us on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. We're live. Joe Murray's live. You got Alex Barth and Ty Anderson and all these guys doing videos. It's the place to be. I did a hour-long interview with The Ringer yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
About the change in Boston sports fans from when they started winning, but because I came in 2006. And it was funny because I could tell, like, the guy wasn't really getting what he was wanting out of me. And I was like, okay. And I was talking to him for about half an hour. And he goes, and I had mentioned Patricia coming out with the Goodell clown shirt on, like the clown shirt with the nose. Mm-hmm. And then we went by it, and then he goes, I don't remember that. And for whatever reason, that jogged my memory of Deflategate. And I don't think I shut up for 20 minutes about that's what changed everything. Deflategate is what made the Patriots fans, because it was you were football fans up until that point. You enjoyed the games. You enjoyed winning. You thought, like every other fan base, you thought you were draft experts, and you thought you were, free agency experts, and you were the class of the NFL, and you were the class of the NFL. And so it was like a reasonable amount of enjoyment. But then when Deflategate came, that was when it went too far, and people became experts on science, Hey, dumbass, it's the ideal gas law. The molecules in the balls get smaller. Stupid. Then they all had the report in context, that stupid legal crap.
Yeah, the Kraft set up a specific website.
But meanwhile,
Yeah.
and then everyone's vilifying Goodell as if, there's this corporate oppressor putting his foot on the little guy, and they're releasing the whatever report in context. And meanwhile, Kraft's like, having drinks with the guy, like and cigars with the guy. I mean, it's all, you were all played. It was all a play thing. You were being played with by billionaires. That was when I think things got out of control, and and then it reset. I think Mac Jones was the reset. That was the reset. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
John doesn't like it because he was here the whole time, and he doesn't like to hear me going on. Like he's looking.
You
at
weren't
me.
here. You're not from
He's
here.
looking at me very
interloper.
cynically. I mentioned you a couple times, and I mentioned Hardy too.
Wow.
Because he said, "What's it like? The difference between?" I don't think he's going to use this because this is the part of it where he wasn't interested. He said, "What was the difference between Detroit and in Boston?" And I said, "Detroit is kind of just is happy for the ride still right now." And I gave the example of Hardy debating whether to go to the divisional game or going to the Super Bowl. And then he went to the divisional game, and I said he wasn't even like, everyone seemed to be like, okay, well, that happened, and now life is moving on. We're here after the undefeated season when they lost to the Giants. It was bedlam and confusion.
There's no moving on.
I don't know if I've ever been quite as happy as I was when the Patriots lost that Super Bowl game. And then remember,
Why were you so happy?
Because do you remember when
I made a lot of money on that game.
I'm sure you did.
Oh my God, the line on that game was ridiculous because
Yeah.
they had beat the Giants by what, 4?
Yeah, it was the last game of the regular season. Very close. They
Yeah, it was
escaped.
a close game, and then
Yeah.
and then the line comes out. It's 10.5.
Now, even I knew that wasn't
Like,
right.
no.
Yeah.
Take-
I, Captain Patriot, knew that wasn't right.
I mean, I took
Yeah.
I didn't take Giants on the money line, but I took Giants in the points. Hell yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Do you remember Belichick was a huge baby after it too on TV? Like he didn't want to. Didn't want to talk by the locker
That's
room.
all. That's what Belichick does. I remember when they lost to the. I happened to be at this game. They lost to the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC Championship game. They blew a big lead. They were up 21-3, 24-3 at halftime. And if they had gone to the Super Bowl, they would have blown the Bears out of the water. And they blew that lead and lost. I happened to be next to the Patriots locker room after that. Belichick could not have been more of a petulant 6-year-old than he was outside that locker room after the game. He does not. Most coaches don't take losing well. Belichick takes it to the nth degree. He's like a 6-year-old whose toy you've just stolen. It's the worst. He was terrible to deal with. Terrible.
Yeah, you had to be there. Yeah, he's not a good guy. No question about it.
Oh, they won by 3 in Week 17.
Yeah, I told you it was close.
38-35. I thought
Yeah.
it was 4. Yeah, it was even better than that.
And you can't dismiss that because they were going for an undefeated record. So it's not like the Patriots weren't trying.
Patriots fans dismissed it at the time as, well, there was a lot of pressure. You know, the Giants
Unlike the
weren't
Super
nearly
Bowl.
as close as they are. Well, I'm just telling you what the narrative was.
I'm playing along. Yeah.
There was a lot of pressure on the Patriots. It was the pressure of an undefeated season, last game of the regular season. Maybe they were battling two things, and I remember they needed a long pass to Randy Moss to win that thing. That set the record, Brady touchdown pass record, the Moss touchdown reception record, all these records, and don't worry about it. Well, a 10.5-point spread against that team, I knew in real time was too much. Too much. Giants played them real well that day.
Yeah, I wasn't on. This station didn't exist yet. I just remember someone was at someone claimed to be at the cask and said that someone threw a glass through the window.
Oh, I didn't. Is that right?
But I don't think that happened. Don't you think that would have been like a big story if that happened?
I don't remember that. I
Like if
remember
someone-
reading about that. I don't remember.
Yeah, if someone threw a glass through the front window of the cask, I think that would have been a bigger story. I've repeated that story, and now that I think about it, I don't think that really happened. Oh, and now it's going to reflect on me.
now
Like
someone
I'm
would have called you on it by now, directly.
But I don't say it's me. I don't say I was there. Like I didn't make it my story, as we tend to do.
Yeah.
As we tend to do.
12-point favorites in that Super Bowl. I was going the other way as to not engage in exaggeration. They had beaten the Giants by 3. They were 12-point favorites in that Super Bowl. Come on, what are you thinking? Come on, can't do that.
But don't you agree that the Patriots fans weren't intolerable until Deflategate?
There was a sense of entitlement after those first 3 championships, but yeah, I will admit it kind of shifted into a different gear. It wasn't with Spygate. It was different because Goodell came and destroyed the tapes like on site, so there wasn't any back and forth. Goodell was seen as being on our side. This was different. You know, now the NFL is oppressing the Patriots because they win too much and all that, and then it was like a foxhole mentality. It was, oh, you guys, if you're not with us, you're against us, and you suck.
So you think the shift happened when, Fred, in terms of the intolerability of Patriots fans?
I think they went from like elitist, which is funny, to intolerable at Deflategate.
I think that's the mark.
That's what I was
And
saying.
it took me so you both agree. It took me like a half an hour to get there. Because, you don't think about it. Like, it's for an article, so it's not like he's taping me, but it's not like I'm on a high-pressure podcast or something. So it took me like a half an hour to get, like, to kind of think about it, to get to kind of like arrive at, oh, yeah, Deflategate. That was when it had turned. And it wasn't like that with any other fan. Like, it wasn't. Here's how I put it. He only really cared about the Patriots, but like the Celtics' last championship was too easy. It was more about the entitlement of the Boston fans, and some of it's not like being dicks. Like I just think that last year it was too easy for the Celtics. It didn't seem to be this cosmic thing. I wasn't here when the Red Sox won the first time. I'd imagine that was gigantic. I mean, it was a worldwide story.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest championship, outside of the Patriots ones, was the Bruins in 11. Like, I think that was the only one that completely, like, the city shut down and everyone, and it's odd, too, because it's, like, more of a niche sport. I know it's a huge market for hockey here, but you had a lot of people that never pay attention to hockey, super into it.
The 08 Celtics championship was big because it was over the Lakers.
Yeah, that was big too.
It was big,
Yeah.
but it didn't have the impact that the Bruins did because the Bruins were down 0-2 in 2 different series.
Yeah,
in that postseason, and I remember having conversations on the radio with you name it, whether it was Haggerty or Kalman or anyone after they went down 0-2 to Vancouver. I was, probably being a little bit more of a fanboy, but if there's one team in this town, I think you're the same way, Fred, that I'm going to fanboy out over, it's the Bruins. They've shown you they can do this, and everyone's saying no, this isn't Montreal. This isn't some other team that they're down 0-2 to. This is different. There's no way they can do this, and the fact that they did. That's what just made everybody become unglued.
I think the local pro teams have won 13 championships this century, something like that. There are 3 of them that stand out. The first Patriots Super Bowl because they were the underdog of underdogs. They were the big underdog to St. Louis in that Super Bowl, the 2004 World Series, and then the Stanley Cup in 2011. The first Celtics championship this century in 2008. They won 66 games last year. They had Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. It wasn't a shock that they were where they were. But those other 3, I think people were like, there's no way. There's no way. Oh, my God, they won.
Yeah.
Those 3 stand out, and I don't think any one of them is ahead of any other one. Yeah. I think those are the top.
I also think that the building of the Bruins, like that over those, like they get Savard and Chara.
Yeah.
And then Bergeron comes in, and then Marchand, and then like they kind of built this thing. And remember, they went to Game 7 in the first round against Montreal. Lucic Like, all these guys I think that was 2007, 2008. They went because I had sold my season tickets just in time. And, I was at that game I was at the game 5 against Montreal and they beat them and the place was like insane. And that was only a 1-year shift from it being empty. And so there was that slow build, like that natural build to it that I think also helped. Anyway, it should be an interesting article. He talked to Shaughnessy and Curran and, all the other luminaries.
Who's the author? Do you know? Who's the author?
Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. He knows Alan Siegel, who's been very good to us. So there you go. That will be on the Ringer.
Okay.
And I'm very happy it's an article because an article is likely to be read. A podcast on the Ringer. Again, they have like the 785 songs that capture the 1980s. And there's an hour-long podcast for all 785 songs. You know what I'm saying? I'm exaggerating, but it's something like the 80 songs that
Long
capture
form.
the 80s. Or the 90 songs that capture the 90s. And it's two guys you never heard of talking an hour about some song. And I understand they probably put it in perspective and stuff, but, I mean, say it's the greatest thing in the world. How many people are going to listen to that? It's too much. It's too much.
If it's any consolation, I wouldn't listen to it, but I'm not going to read the article either. So, I mean, I don't know if that helps your argument or hurts it.
It's not for dyslexics. Not dyslexics. It's not. It's home. It's not for.
Am I dyslexic?
It's not for.
Then I need Adderall.
Illiterates.
Then you should let me take Adderall.
Adderall doesn't help dyslexia.
You don't know that.
I
What are you, a
do.
doctor?
The last thing you need is Adderall.
That
only
that
thing-
feels like a shot.
No.
That
That is honest to God advice. If you could, I'll tell you this. I didn't mean to say dyslexia, by the way. Dyslexia is not even a big deal.
You said that? I didn't even know you said that. I zoned out. See, I need Adderall.
All right. So here's the deal with
What day is it?
with you. If you go to a
Is this the overall deal, or is this the deal related to this topic?
I have a suggestion.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Go to a doctor and tell them about your history. Be honest with them about your history. And then go, you know what? I think you should give me a prescription to Adderall. And if the doctor says that's a good idea,
Get a new doctor.
no, call
Your sponsor.
call the medical board and say, look at what just happened. Because that's like 2005 giving out, Percocets and Roxy's, like just when they would just my back, and then they go, oh, here's a bunch of Roxy's, just take them. Oh, okay. Roxy's. Because there was a time where they were handing out Adderall like there's nobody's business, and that was not good for anyone, especially if you were.
When did Adderall take over from Ritalin? Ritalin was the thing in the 90s more so than the Adderall.
I didn't really start figuring out or know anything about Adderall until I started dating. And then kind of people came out of the woodwork. And and then I realized how many I know people, not people I've dated, but I know people in my life that had like severe Adderall problems. So I never even knew you could.
I didn't. I've never taken either one. I feel like I missed out.
Oh, I snorted Ritalin in college. It didn't do anything to me, though.
I didn't know anyone who did it or didn't think to ask them for some. Stupid. Should have done some recreationally, Wallach.
In fact,
Sorry.
Ritalin's the only thing I've ever snorted, and I probably did it a couple times because people said it would help you study, and I just remember it doing nothing. It's probably, I think, again, my brain is just it's the same thing with opiates. Like they'll give you opiates, they'll be like, be careful, and then you go, okay, like you hurt your back or something. You got a problem, like a legitimate problem. The doctor gives you opiates, and then you take them, and you're like, tee-hee. And then for me, they just make me sick, and I can't sleep.
Well, that's because you're taking all that magnesium, and it counteracts the effects.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get off that stuff, man. That's the powerful
Dude, I've tried.
Equalizer. That's just it's got you all messed up.
Dude, I've tried.
Your magnesium habit.
It ain't easy. I can't even get a CAT
It
scan.
ain't easy getting off the kneesy.
I can't even get an MRI
Pretty good.
You can't.
because I got so much metal in my body. I got so much magnesium in my body. They won't even give me an MRI. All right, anyway. That is that. A big show on the way today, including everything that happened last night, and there was a lot. I mean, Kansas got blown out.
Kansas not very good this year.
They were a preseason number one.
Yeah, and then they weren't. They're not very good.
We have some interesting Red Sox highlights, not because the game itself was interesting, but I just want you to hear what I believe local fans heard if you were tuned into the game yesterday. We'll tell you what happened in Dallas with Kyrie Irving, big retirement from the NFL on Fox, and yeah, we got stuff. Don't you worry about it. We got stuff.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy.
Did you catch a game last night?
Hi, everyone. We're Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lepresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Hardy, what happened last evening?
We don't have an intern today, do we?
No, tomorrow.
We do not. Tomorrow, Reese is back.
Can we still ask interns to like do things for us, like get us
course.
coffee? Like if you were here,
yeah.
would it be appropriate for me to ask? Because I just finished my coffee. I want another one right now. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait 10 minutes.
It wouldn't be a problem because he's doing others. You can't just have them do just that. But if that's part of the mix of their duties, that's not a problem at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had an intern go to my house and get something from my house.
Yeah.
But
that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know this intern of ours? Braces, but they're clear.
Oh.
Yeah.
Notice that?
So not Invisalign.
So wait, Fred, are you and I the only one who have noticed that? Because the guys in here did not.
I didn't notice it
Interesting.
either. Huh.
You and I, Adam, are like detectives.
I'm not staring at
We
his
like to
teeth.
stare into the corners, Fred.
Some
we
kind
like
of
to look
creep.
into the shadows
Yeah.
We're very present. Nothing gets by us.
in the moment.
We're not so wrapped up in our own thoughts.
That's right.
What?
We don't need Adderall.
I do.
I swear to God, for a bit, you should go to the doctor and tape it and tell him everything that you did.
No issues there.
In your life. I remember when Adolfo came to me when I was getting a cyst like squeezed in my back, and I'm like, let him tape it, and then the doctor's like, no, and I'm like, oh, stop it, let him tape it, and she's like, no.
Oh.
So there was just me and Adolfo in this room with her.
Oh. How
It was hot.
Zolak would have gone along on that one. He loves the cyst popping videos.
Oh, he watches Pimple Popper constantly.
That's usually and this is no sarcasm. That's usually a woman thing. Like that's women are. That's Dr. Pimple Poppers for women, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something about women they love. Like my daughter will always go, let me pop that, let me pop that, let me pop that. The same like women, I want to pop that, I want to pop that. Mm-hmm. They say, let me pop that.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say that to my anyone related to.
No,
I'm saying to the woman down the street.
Of course. The gal next door.
The gal next door.
All right. If you were watching the Red Sox yesterday as they were playing Toronto, this is what you heard. Wallach, what is this?
Swing,
Ooh,
and he hits
there
it
you go.
hard right field. A base hit for Christian
right.
Campbell. Laces the first pitch he saw the other way for the first hit of the spring. Gets some claps from his teammates third base side. Alex Cora's got his hands up clapping. And Christian Campbell is on base after a hit.
Who is that?
I believe that's the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network.
Oh,
I believe.
okay.
I don't think that's Nissan.
I don't watch spring training.
No.
So
I didn't.
Is this commonplace where you get this type of play-by-play action?
It sounds like
Nathan Hickey swings. He hits this high and hard to right, to the corner, to the wall, and gone again. 2 bombs in 3 batters. Nathan Hickey joins Toro. 2-run shot. And we've got a 5-4 ball game in the 7th.
we got a 5-4 ball game.
Rolled that kid right off the assembly line.
Brockmeyer.
Jesus.
Yeah.
10-1 that kid went to Syracuse.
So, just,
10-1.
That action is off the board, sir. You can't even place that. Bet.
100,000,000-1.
Someone give me my binoculars and allow me to unscrew them.
Flight that long ought to show a movie.
And I'm emphasizing a odd syllable.
You measure that, you got to take into account the curvature of the earth.
Man.
And Sox play to a 6-6 tie, I think, right?
Yep.
All right, there you go.
There's nothing like
6-6
going.
tie.
There's nothing like going to spring training and seeing a nice tie.
Yep.
Everyone's very excited for the tie.
But in fairness, everyone's usually left by the 9th inning.
I'm talking about the teams in general.
all right.
There's 36 spring training games, and then they got to play 162 regular season games.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a manager of a Major League Baseball team, that's no joke. There's no way you could pay attention the entire time. There's no way. There's no way you could pay attention.
I'm glad you bring that up because I'm continually fascinated when they go over to the dugout and they show Cora or whoever is managing any team, like engaged in watching every pitch. I'm like, Jesus, aren't you bored of this? It's July. It doesn't matter what happens on this pitch.
Yeah.
It truly does not.
Yeah,
Take a break.
I don't know how you could focus that much. I mean, if you're Leland, you could just sit down and have some smokes, and busy yourself with your nicotine. Remember, Leland used to smoke on the bench, and then they told him he couldn't, so he walked next to the bench and started smoking. But yeah, I find it very difficult to believe that you could be invested in anything that many times in that short of a span.
Yeah, unless it's your kid pitching, how can you watch every pitch and be interested?
But if your kid pitched, say it's your kid hitting. If your kid hit 4 times every day for 190 days, I mean, you would not be into it, really. I mean, there's games that you'd miss. I mean, there's games my son plays in, and they're far away, and I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
I'm not going there. I'm
Hit
not
one-
going to New Hampshire to watch
Hit
you
one
play.
for me, son.
Exactly. I'm not going to New Hampshire to watch you play baseball.
By the way, Syracuse University, Newhouse School, 2011.
You look. Oh
Ding.
my God.
Oh, yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Yep.
Good grief.
That Newhouse School is really something because it's churning out kids every year, but there's only so many jobs.
Yeah.
Like there's so many play-by-play jobs. And then there's, and then occasionally like Iron Eagle's kid will get something. Like it's weird. Like some 25-year-old will get something. So that pushes everyone who's older than 25 even further away.
Really?
And then the people, John, you were never going to be Iron Eagle's kid.
Oh,
let's be honest. You're an Eagle.
Yeah.
But that's where you got confused.
Okay. Jeez.
All
Another
right.
Syracuse kid, by the way.
Let's loop Wallach.
Well, he had to.
Yeah, I know.
They
I'm just
put him by
saying.
gunpoint.
I don't know.
Iron Eagle's kid's good.
Oh, he's very good.
Very good. Let's get Wallach back into the fold here. We'll talk some NBA. Kyrie Irving playing for the Dallas Mavericks last night hurts his knee, but he gets fouled in the process. Got to go to the free throw line. Why, Wallach?
Because he's a gamer.
No,
That's why.
because if you want to come back into the game and you leave due to injury and don't shoot your free throws first, you can't come back in.
There was no way he was coming back in. Not a chance.
He didn't know that.
No,
That's the knee he grabbed immediately. It's just unfathomable, all the injuries.
The crowd recognizes what's happening here.
That gives you chills.
He does. He's that guy.
He is that
MVP.
I thought they all hated the team. You know what I'm done with? 3 things. Give them their roses. Ew. Ships. Like when they're just like, he's got 3 ships. Shut up. Shut up. Like fridge. He's got 3 ships. And then he's that guy. He's that guy. Because someone said it. And now, like, the biggest dorks in the world are going, he's that guy.
Okay, so
He's that guy,
I thought you were gonna say
African-American friends.
He is him.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
well,
a big one now.
You can throw
Yeah.
that into a pile.
Yeah.
He is him sounds like something that you say about your gay lover.
Oh,
Like, oh, he's him.
yeah.
Jose is him. Let's just say that. Hello.
Mama, here comes that man.
Exactly. Mama, I've got myself a bad man. He's a real estate agent on the streets and a real cat in the sheets. Hello.
Jimmy Johnson is retiring.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He is.
What's next?
I've made an extremely difficult decision. I've been thinking about it for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've decided to retire from Fox. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss all the guys, and I'll see them occasionally. But it has been a great run starting back 31 years ago.
Yeah, they won't let you leave, Jimmy. Don't worry about that. They will bring you back. But 81-year-old Jimmy Johnson calling it quits, stepping away from the NFL on Fox.
Does that mean we get more Rob Gronkowski? That
No.
could be a good and a bad thing.
No, there's no way he can handle that. If they didn't make you travel I don't know why you would retire from that job, but they do. Like they'll have you go on like a battleship or something, and that's probably a huge pain in the ass. And then you got to like go when they're on location, which is a pain in the ass. But if it was just in New York or LA once a week for the football season, like I'd never retire. I just do it one day a week. The total amount of time Jimmy Johnson speaks on a Sunday is probably 3 minutes. In all reality, 3 minutes. To prepare to speak for 3 minutes, given all he knows inherently about football, is he doesn't have to watch anything.
He doesn't have to be that crazy, wacky guy. You got Bradshaw across the desk to do that.
But Bradshaw, Bradshaw, that's his personality.
Well, that's
so,
what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
easier for Jimmy Johnson. He doesn't have to carry anything when he speaks.
Right.
He's
So,
more the voice of reason.
I'm a little surprised that that you would retire from that job. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, if you could have a schedule where you just go to New York or L.A., you fly in Saturday night and you leave Sunday night, that's one thing. But if they're making you travel all around, I guess that could be a pain in the ass. And at a certain point, you would say, screw it.
Yeah. And at 81 years old, maybe if it's literally only having to get up like at 4 o'clock in the morning once a week, you just say, I don't need this anymore. There's a chance that just like ruins his entire week, knowing that, 18, 19, 20 times a year, he's got to get up early that one day a week. You know what? If I stop doing this, I can sleep in every day.
Why do you think
good would
you'd have
that
to get
be?
up at 4?
To catch a flight, I don't know, but there is work. He has to go do things. Maybe
No.
Maybe he doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah, anytime you have to do something, it becomes a pain in the ass, regardless of what it is. If you have to be somewhere or do anything, it's a pain in the ass. But I mean, if they flew you on, he probably doesn't fly private planes. If you had to fly commercial once
81.
a week.
I don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah.
So Jimmy has to he's in Florida, right? I assume he's in Florida.
He's
So, I mean,
Big
he
fisherman.
flies from Florida to L.A., leave on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I could get that. Yeah. I guess
back
that's a
Sunday
pain in the
night.
ass. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. Yeah, he's a big fisherman. He's like a big competitive fisherman.
Right.
That's his big thing. He's big in the fishing community. If you ever
Go
to Borders and pick up one of the magazines.
What's his fish of choice? What is he? Is he a bass guy? Is he out there trying to land the big marlins? What's he doing?
Oh no, he's just bluefish.
Bluegill.
Yeah,
Tommy cod.
He just shoots. He fishes for blues. He loves Nantucket Harbor or whatever the hell it's called, and he just goes in there and watches them jump in the boat. He's a big fan of minnows. He's gets a net out and he leans off the dock.
My brother-in-law did that once. It was pretty cool. I'd never seen anyone do that before. And it was on a beach, but he wanted to catch some bait fish, some minnow, and he threw the net out there and hauled it. And I'm like, look at that. That's pretty smart.
Well, in the Keys.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to educate me. I was only there once, and it was a whirlwind.
First stop
of suck.
First stop is you got to take all the leather off, but then when you get to the boat, but you go out and you just drop a net, and then you pull all the bait fish in. It's and then that's your bait fish for the trip. If you're the first guy out in the morning, you just go to certain areas and you throw your net in, and then you pull in all the bait fish.
Right.
And then you have all your bait fish. The best is when it doesn't work the first time, and then you're on the clock with someone, and they got 4 hours, and you can't find bait fish. It goes over well. It's a little bit of pressure. The bait fish is probably the most pressure. Everything else is kind of, if you don't get anything, you don't get anything. But if you can't even get bait fish, and I've been in that situation more than once. Just traveling around trying to get bait fish.
Where were you going after bonefish down there?
Yeah, my friend, when I was down in the Keys after college, every friend they were either insurance scam artists or they had bonefish boats, flat fishing boats, because they're cheap and they're little enterprises. And I'm sure they were not insured. So that would have been good if something bad happened. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Bruins will play Nashville at TD Garden tonight. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Brad Marchand expected to be out tonight thanks to an upper body injury. Sportsnet in Canada is reporting that although this injury is expected to keep him out through Friday's trade deadline, it's not expected to be long-term. Red Sox and Baltimore Orioles played to a 6-6 exhibition tie in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. They'll play in Bradenton today against Pittsburgh. And in NBA news, the Dallas Mavericks were blown out at home by Sacramento 128-98, and they also lost Kyrie Irving to a non-contact left knee injury late in the first quarter. The team is calling that injury a sprain for now. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rodenheiser Home Services. Rodenheiser is now offering $250 off a new water heater.
conversation. He's going to stay right where he is. What do you got on that for us there, Sean?
I think fortunately we were able to come to a compromise and a conclusion that everybody feels really good about. And
He sounds like the faster guy. All right, someone pull a clip, post haste of the faster guy. This has to be done. Didn't know we were going to be doing this. I'm putting everyone on the spot, but Sean McVay sounds almost exactly like the faster guy, which does happen in life. You will run into people that sound like the faster guy.
Before the Red Sox even played baseball, Neil Diamond performed Sweet Caroline here at Fenway. It wasn't called Fenway, but it was the same spot.
I think fortunately we were able to come to a compromise and a conclusion that everybody feels really good about. And
again,
I guess his bees.
Conclusion that everybody feels really good about. And
baseball was invented before basketball because the size of the ball.
Come to a compromise and a conclusion that
see average students who are stuck playing right-handed.
It's there.
Yeah, oh yeah. He sounds.
When people fish, they kill fish.
The faster guy
about it.
came and left before you could even blink.
Yeah,
he was gone.
Gone too soon.
Oh, I don't think he's dead. It might be Sean McVay for all I know. I mean, it was Adolfo talking to him.
Could have been. But that's not even the part I wanted you to hear. I wanted to hear this part. Okay, so we feel really good about this compromise, this deal that we've reached.
I think it's a great reflection of him and our group.
And so you anticipate having this conversation again next year?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
oh yeah.
Okay.
We're going year to year, baby.
Yeah. Did all this work, got all this done. He's a reflection on him. What about next year? Oh, it just started all over.
Yep. No faith.
Yep.
Got to play it by ear. That's what we're doing over here.
That's all right. All right.
Yeah, so there's the Sam Darnold issue as well. As Sam Darnold looks not to be franchised.
The tag deadline is 4:00 this afternoon.
I don't think you do that.
It's such an interesting thing because before the playoffs or before Week 18, you would have said you have to do it.
Yes.
I mean, this kid is finally showing what he was drafted for. But then he struggles so badly against the Lions. He wasn't as bad in the playoff game, but he was really bad against the Lions. Like, he almost single-handedly lost that game for the Vikings. And then you start wondering if he can play in those pressure situations. So you certainly don't want to give him a long-term deal. But ideally, if you're Minnesota, I'd pay Sam Darnold a lot of money for one season. I would. I don't know if I'd franchise him, but I certainly would give the ideal situation for Minnesota is J.J. McCarthy's a rookie coming off of an injury.
And if you were Minnesota, you would pay him a lot of money for one season.
For one season, because, look, if J.J. McCarthy's coming off an injury and he doesn't play well, I mean, you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. And all of a sudden, you're not winning games because you're a quarterback and you had Sam Darnold on your team. There's a lot to – look, Kevin O'Connell got a new contract. He's a darling of everyone. That can change quickly, as we know. Go ahead.
Daniel Jones is on this roster. He actually signed to the practice squad at the end of the season. A lot of people forget that. I was reading that the plan is to have J.J. McCarthy be the starter and Daniel Jones be his backup.
Yeah, that's
next season.
Again, Sam doesn't change my mind.
No,
Sam Darnold.
What I'm saying
is,
I
know.
Why even bother?
That plan's not as good.
Why?
It's nowhere near as good.
You don't say.
I don't like that plan as much
Nope.
as I would if I was a Vikings fan, as I would if Sam Darnold, the guy who was our quarterback last year when we won 1 million games. What'd they win? They win 12 games, 13
Minnesota
games?
won 14.
Yeah, Minnesota just missed beating out Detroit.
No,
for
I know.
Seed, so.
I know that they played the last game of the season for the. Minnesota won 14 games last year.
Yeah.
So,
Justin Jefferson, by the way, doesn't care who it is.
I'm not sure who the quarterback is going to be, and just like I said last year, it truly doesn't matter personally to me. It doesn't matter who's going to throw me that ball. I'm going to make the most of my opportunities. I'm going to try to make him look the best quarterback in the whole NFL.
LSU. Where's Justin?
LSU. And by the way, Sam Darnold, they were 14-3. That's the best record in franchise history. Don't want that guy. Don't want him. Not
Yeah,
franchising him for a year.
It's weird. I would franchise him before I'd sign him to a multi-year contract.
Oh, of course. Yeah. If you're not completely sold on McCarthy being ready, then you get him for another year. But there should be no need to go beyond that.
Right. You need a little soft landing from McCarthy.
I don't know if it's worth it franchising him and spending that money to have a soft landing if McCarthy is ready by week 4. That's not worth it.
Yeah, but you're planning. That's the thing, is that it's your contingency plan. You just start Darnold and hope he gets beat out. That would be what your plan is. But then I guess you'd have to justify paying the franchise check. Look, I don't even know if you have to franchise him. I don't know how many teams are going after him. Apparently, the Giants. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm really worried because they want Rodgers, and the only reason they want Rodgers is so Dayball and what's his face don't get fired. The GM and Dayball don't get fired. They want someone who comes in so the season's not a disaster, because they know there's no one they're going to get in the draft at 6, and there's no one in free agency that they want to commit to, so they know they can get Rodgers for a reasonable deal if he agrees. If he agrees to play for the Giants, that you're going to get him at a reasonable price, and he gives you at least a moonshot to win a few games and buy some time, because there's no reason Aaron Rodgers should be playing for the Giants. It's humiliating to him. I mean, to play for the Giants and go lose there, lose for 2 teams in New York. That's not under the radar.
That's remarkable, actually.
If
you do that, I think that's unprecedented. But somebody's going to pay Sam Darnold 3 years and $150 million.
But who is the thing? Like, I don't know who. It's not going to be the Jets, so that eliminates one team. It's apparently not the Giants, so I don't know who it's going to be. Like, I don't think Vegas would do that.
Why not?
Because I think Vegas is going to get Russell Wilson, and I think that. I think ownership is too smart. I don't think you get Pete Carroll and then turn around and get Sam Darnold. I don't know. I just don't know how big the market for Sam Darnold is going to be.
But based on what you saw last year, and I think he threw 35 touchdown passes and had a passer rating of over 100. Based on what you saw last year, and yes, the end of the season was bad. That's better than anybody else available in free agency. Better than any quarterback available in the draft, and it is a quarterback league.
Well, no, it's not better than any quarterback in the draft because the quarterback is under a rookie deal. You have to pay Sam Darnold a lot of money.
But there's no guarantee that Cam Ward is going to be half as good as Sam Darnold
obviously, John. But I'm just asking you, what team is it doesn't seem like there's a team that's necessarily that needs a quarterback that's all in on him, because it's not going to be Tennessee. It's not. I mean, do you think he's going to go to Cleveland?
Cleveland, sure.
Cleveland.
I think he'll go where the money is, and I think Cleveland is stupid enough to offer him all that money instead of trying to move up and draft.
You think you think Cleveland's still stuck to the Deshaun Watson contract? Is going to pay him?
I'm just saying, as big as the salary cap gets, Deshaun Watson's contract is an albatross. If you're going to spend $50 million a year on another quarterback.
Yes, so they're not going to be able to. So you're saying they're not going to be able to.
Now that you look at it, probably not.
Yeah, so it's not going to be Tennessee. It's not going to be Cleveland. The Giants say they get Aaron Rodgers. It's not New England. It's not Jacksonville. You're down to the Raiders. I think that they're going to reunite with Russell Wilson. It's not the Jets. It's not Carolina. Then New Orleans, maybe?
Could be New Orleans.
All right, well, then now you've got one team.
Could be New
one
Orleans.
quarterback needy team. It's not Chicago. It's not San Francisco. It's not Dallas. It's not Miami. It's most likely not Indianapolis, even though they're hedging bets.
Yeah.
It's not Atlanta. It's not Arizona. It's not Cincinnati. It's not Seattle. It's not Tampa Bay. It's not Denver. It's not Pittsburgh.
New Orleans?
We said New Orleans. It's not the Chargers. It's not Green Bay. It's not Minnesota in that sense. It's not the Texans. It's not the Rams. It's not the Ravens. It's not the Lions. And it's not the Commanders. It's not the Bills. And it's not Kansas City. I've come up with one team.
I think Las Vegas is a possibility.
It is a possibility.
I think Las Vegas. No, there's no team out there, and Cleveland is so goddamn stupid. It's not. There's no team out there that it could be all in on Sam Darnold. But Darnold will find a landing spot, and he is going to get paid by somebody.
Well,
And I don't think. I mean, for Minnesota to put the franchise, it's a $40 million franchise.
Well,
Well, you don't have to
less than what
franchise
he'll
him.
make on the open
I
market.
You want to make a bet on that?
You don't think Darnold's going to make $40 million?
No. I will bet you a tremendous amount of money he will not make $40 million.
Well, you make way more than I do, so I can't afford that bet.
Hello. That's
Sorry,
that's
John.
how I power play John.
Daddy money bags over there. I can't possibly hope to compete.
You've been here as long as Fred has. How come you don't make as much as him?
Because
Talent.
my name isn't on the show.
It's talent.
and talent.
Yeah, he can't do what I do.
I can't do
I
what
could
he did.
easily churn out a bunch of crap that no one listens to. Oh boy. You know, John, I'm looking at you. That's how I put you in your place. You want to bet? You know to give back. You could probably. He's the one who said it. Hey, everybody. Caller number 10 to the contest line, 617-931-0985.
But really, he's a nice guy.
We'll score a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory this summer at the Xfinity Center.
Man.
Tickets on. You've said it, jackass. Don't blame it on me. I'm just playing along.
It's like the Golden Girls episode when they were bragging about the size of their Social Security checks.
Well, if they were bragging about breast size, Blanche is not
pushing-
winning that one.
Pushing that button.
That's going to be.
occasionally. Yep.
That's You're just like my daughter. Bring something up, and then when I start playing along, get angry. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. I'll bet you on Sam Darnold, meaning that I think you're wrong. Well, you make more money than me. Yeah, I do. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And now here we are. And then Hardy says, I wonder why. You've been with him. You've been here for so long.
You didn't have to say talent.
Oh, you didn't have to ask him why.
You didn't have to say you could turn out a bunch of meaningless crap that no one wants to listen to. That was hurtful.
Just turn the
I was
screws
playing,
there a little
and
bit.
then
You're an a-hole.
And we were improvising.
Take the Lord's name.
He's original.
Take the Lord's name again, Wallach.
I know. I think I was thrown off because he said GD.
Yeah.
Rick Radzik's our program director. If you'd like to complain about John. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
next.
Bruins had last night off, but they'll play one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League, the Nashville Predators, at TD Garden tonight. The visitors have the third worst record in the league entering this one and have fewer road wins than anyone. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sportsnet in Canada reports Brad Marchand's upper body injury will likely keep him out through Friday afternoon's trade deadline, but is not expected to be a long-term thing. In football news, as expected, the Cincinnati Bengals placed the franchise tag on wide receiver T. Higgins again yesterday. It'll cost them over $26 million. Also, the Bengals have waived starting offensive lineman Alex Kappa. Philadelphia has released defensive back Darius Slay, and Minnesota will reportedly not use the franchise tag on quarterback Sam Darnold. The Red Sox and Baltimore played to a 6-6 exhibition tie in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. They played in Bradenton today against Pittsburgh, and the Yankees have shut down reigning American League Rookie of the Year Luis Heel because of a high-grade lat strain. He'll sit at least 6 weeks and then begin his spring training over again. This will keep him out until late May or early June. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Service Credit Union. They've teamed with Charlie McAvoy again this season for 73 reasons to defend New England's first responders. Visit serviccu.org/73. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
Here we go. Boom. I win. Boom. Yeah.
It's so funny. We've got a passion for Boston sports.
Get angry.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Dutcher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Shedeur Sanders looking. Steps up, wants to run. Touchdown, Colorado. This time he does it with his legs. And that's an old school Dion. Prime time. Dance in the end zone for Shedeur.
/ NABJ, which I can only imagine what that is. Award journalist. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that as many times as I can today. Senior NFL insider. Founder, London Pharaoh Productions and The Exhibit. Is London Pharaoh the name of Mia Farrow's kid?
I don't know.
The Exhibit. Concept platform. Host of The Exhibit. Alum CBS, ESPN, and Showtime. So I don't know what she does right now. But something called The Exhibit. I found this interesting. She tweeted this out yesterday on the platform Twitter.
X, please. Thank you.
I am disappointed to hear that a quarterback's coach from a team drafting in the top 7 referred to Shedeur Sanders as coming off brash and arrogant in his team interview and making his assessment known to a number of people per source. I'm purposely not naming the team as not to directly call the team out. I'm just, limiting it to the top 7 teams in the draft. The 7th pick is held by the Jets. Is it Aaron Glenn of the Jets? Is he? Because I don't think so because of the way she's saying this. But first of all, brash and arrogant. She's very disappointed in the guy. She's not going to name him, but she's very disappointed in him. She goes on to explain because that's her job as a reporter is to be vastly disappointed in unnamed people. Just name the guy. If you're so upset about it, name the guy. Just sharing that this coach's personal assessment is the direct opposite from how Sanders came across to many reporters in his press conference with the media at the Combine. Okay, so what? You weren't in the meeting that he had with Shedeur Sanders. You like him, this guy doesn't. How is that news? I'm just telling you, I don't want to be too combative because I'm honestly asking, what the hell's going on here? You tell me if you can figure it out. I'm open to any discussion. Sanders appeared to go out of his way to acknowledge multiple media members, regardless if they were recognizable or not. He seemed cordial, polite, witty, thoughtful, along with being confident, as many athletes are. Alternately, these observations were distinctly different from how another QB prospect came off in some of the media last year in Indy. Caleb Williams. Again, why so vague? Is it because the Exhibit would get mad? Or would you never win another NABJ award? National Association of Black Journalists is what I would imagine that means.
That sounds right.
That's correct.
Yes, that sounds right.
Did you know that, Adam, or did you look it up?
No, Ryan knew it. He shared it with us.
I was going to say, I didn't know if you got your hands on one of those awards. You know?
Yeah, I mean...
I didn't know if you were... you were faking
So what?
just to get an award.
Like a soul man
Just
situation?
it beat me to it. It beat me to it.
Exactly. Were you soul man in it, Adam?
He was getting away with it until he got pulled over, and then he looked at his driver's license. He couldn't hand over that driver's license,
Yeah.
and then he ended up going to jail. You know what James Earl Jones said? Next time you go to jail, call me. You can study in jail. I'll bring you your books.
Yeah.
He was giving him no quarter, no excuse.
Well, that's the problem is that, you take enough tanning pills, you're getting into college.
Is that what
used to be on every day. Yeah, he takes tanning pills. That's how he becomes the soul man.
I didn't even know tanning pills were a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not.
You think of the outsiders in Swayze and Lowe and Tom Cruise.
Yep.
And then in even Ralph Macchio in some degree. And then you think, see, Thomas Howell was the star of that son of a bitch.
Soul Man was 1986. It feels like that was earlier, or should have been. Earlier.
In the Outsiders was probably like 82.
Matt Dillon.
Yeah. You're right, Matt Dillon. So you had 4 years not to do Soul Man.
What's her name? Played Sherry Valance.
The really pretty girl.
Outsiders was 83. Yeah, so just 3 years.
So yeah, see, Thomas Howell, don't take Soul Man. Like you're a serious actor at this point. You don't have to take Soul Man.
Well, they told him he was Pony Boy. They said stay gold, and he took it a little too literally. And
all right,
Diane Lane.
Oh, Diane.
Yeah,
she's still very attractive.
Yes, she is.
She hasn't skipped a beat.
Nope.
According to league sources, said QB coach. So it's a QB coach for one of the top 17. She's really narrowed it down, or she's really keeping it vague. I don't know why she's just not saying the guy's name. Seems to have issues with the culture. She puts that in quotations.
You want me to explain it to you? Freddie T style? I'll explain it to you. She doesn't want to name the coach because she's calling the coach racist. And these are all keywords, brash, arrogant, for describing culture in many quotes there, how she did it. They don't like, she's saying that this coach didn't like him because he was a confident young black man.
Right, but then she juxtaposes that with someone who came off as brash and arrogant, and it wasn't Drake May, who was the white guy taken at the top of the draft. It's obviously Caleb Williams. Because it's not Jaden Daniels, and it can't be Drake May. Drake May's just a hillbilly. He didn't come off as anything. So Caleb Williams was the guy who came off. So how is calling... This is where I'm confused. If it is Caleb... First of all, this is what being obtuse leads to. But if it is Caleb Williams, who was the guy that came off bad to the media, and he's black, and then Shedeur Sanders, someone says he came off brash and he's black, how is you saying about Caleb Williams, other than you being black, okay, but the guy... So I'm taking it it's a white QB coach from one of the top 7 teams. So if that narrows it down, I would imagine even further if there's an African-American QB coach. Again, I don't know why this need to be obtuse. I think it's more a lack of confidence in what you're saying by being this obtuse. Not just saying a guy, but also not naming it. Not naming the quarterback last year. The only name in this is Shedeur Sanders.
You know, it could have dispelled a lot of this controversy and issue here. Changing the word disappointed to surprised. I'm surprised to hear that a quarterback's coach from a team drafted in the top 7 referred to Shedeur Sanders as brash and arrogant because he was the opposite in his time of the press.
Yeah, but surprise doesn't lead to, trouble for the quarterback's coach. Surprised, disappointed.
Just gives you a chance to wag your finger at said quarterbacks.
Yeah,
disappointed is a very
disappointed is a way to get someone in trouble. And according to league sources, the said QB coach seems to have an issue with the culture because she narrows it down to QB coach. The culture of athletes who have broad fame and financial success before entering the NFL, and in their, with an asterisk, opinions appears to them to have a problem with certain athletes. Then a hyphen, I'll leave it at that. So she's saying this QB coach don't care for black people. This is how pre-draft evaluations can get jacked because of evaluators who don't seemingly possess the discernment to detect intangible traits that are connected to the will and drive to win without being a stat or delineated in analytics report. He's literally Deion Sanders' son, and despite growing up different from most, seemed fairly grounded. Hopefully any potential biases towards, quote-unquote, the culture are being checked at the door as not to unduly impact stock and business. The modern-day college athlete is evolving, as is the scale of business and opportunities surrounding them before entering professional leagues. Adaptation sounds necessary, and not just for Sanders. So what if this QB coach takes Cam Ward?
Oh, that'll blow her whole thing out of the water.
Like, I don't like what this sounds more like she's in love with Shedeur Sanders. This is why it's interesting to me, because there's like a guy was being racist. I get it, but it sounds like she's talking about Caleb Williams last year, and if Shedeur Sanders is passed over for Cam Ward's a black quarterback too. This, to me, sounds like she's in love with Shedeur Sanders.
She did do a lengthy one-on-one interview with him right after his podium thing with the media. It was about a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah,
she
it
posted
sounds
online.
to me like she's in love with him.
5 minutes
Or she's like going into business with him, and she's trying to drum up some sympathy for Shedeur Sanders before the draft. Because there's no concrete thing. And again, she's obtuse, but not obtuse enough. It's one of 7 QB coaches. She's saying that he has a problem with the culture, like as if Shedeur Sanders' number one thing you would describe him as is black. The thing that makes Shedeur Sanders different from, I guess, other quarterbacks in terms of the culture is that he grew up with a flamboyant father who's directly involved in his collegiate career and had an album out that was not good in rap. He was strolling down the road, scooping up the butts, if you'll recall from one of his things.
I do remember that.
Like Shedeur Sanders, we've gotten to a point now in the NFL where I would imagine even pretty racist people, when they look at a draft board, aren't going, that's a black quarterback, don't take him. Like even like pretty racist people, that doesn't I'm not buying that stands out enough anymore. So like the culture, like last year, 2 black quarterbacks were taken before a white quarterback. Then a black quarterback was taken, then a white quarterback. No. And then a black quarterback and 2 white quarterbacks. So even, Steven. There's 3 of each taken in the first round. Right?
Yes.
And now there's 2 black quarterbacks that are going to get taken, number 1 and 2 quarterbacks.
Far
ahead.
Before a white quarterback.
Now, if
is
someone
taken.
was like, you know what? The kid from Syracuse, is the kid from Syracuse even white? I don't even know what's going on. I know Jackson Dart's not white, or is white. So say if someone said, you know what, I like that Jackson Dart, he's not like that Shedeur Sanders, then maybe you go, oh, that's a weird way of saying that. You know, like, why'd you say it like that? I think the same thing. If someone's like, that Jackson Dart, he's not like that brazen Shedeur Sanders. I would think, you should have. That's a weird way to say it. You're going to get yourself in some trouble.
Kyle McCord is the Syracuse quarterback, white quarterback.
Okay, so it's Kyle McCord then. See, I don't pay attention to these things, John. Race is of no issue to me.
And that makes you a far better person.
Thank you.
That's what that does.
Thank you.
Everyone take notice.
Much like the girl that's trying to bed C. Thomas Howell and Soul Man, Fred only sees in shades of gray.
Joe, but she did not like it when she found out he was fake and Jamaican. Joe, go ahead.
Morning, gentlemen. The number 2 pick is Cleveland. They do have a Caucasian quarterback coach, but I think it's very presumable after Dion went on a tour and said that 70% of the teams in the league are not suitable for his kid, that he would have Josina Anderson say that there was a bad interview. And it may have very well been a bad interview because maybe he doesn't want to live and work in Cleveland, which is one of the worst teams in the league. So I think it is very possible that that's true, but rather than paint the kid negatively, what if he just went in there and threw the interview? I'll hang up to hear you guys say it. Godspeed.
Oh, yeah, so if he went in and threw the interview and then the QB coach is telling people in private that he didn't like Sanders, I don't think it's very cool of Josina Anderson to be whittling it down for people to speculate who's the racist.
Yeah. Then it becomes a witch hunt. And what the caller said is certainly valid at this time of year.
I don't think it is. I don't think anyone's they're purposely tanking interviews.
He doesn't want to go to Cleveland. If he doesn't
too
want
much
to
at stake, but then people start talking, and then you start to get a rep that you don't deserve.
Anyway, that's beside the point. It just lends the fact to this just increases speculation.
Yeah.
Which is obviously at the heart of what she's trying to do. And she wants, ideally for Josina Anderson, what it seems like is that people would tweet back at her and go like, oh, shut up, everything with you is about race. And then she retweets that and says, SMH. And then here we are, I'm being victimized, and everyone is feeling sorry for me.
SMDH.
Shaking my damn head.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or in Wallach's case, SMGDH.
John, you're
Everyone
in
had
trouble.
forgotten that already. You're going to get me in trouble.
Yeah, don't call back to things that are going to get him in trouble.
What's wrong with you?
But do you understand what I'm saying? So wouldn't you imagine this is what she wants to happen?
Yeah.
This gains
yes.
This is cute enough to gain some response.
And shine a light on herself.
Right.
As
and
a
then
tangential thing.
but ideally someone goes like, well, everything's about race. Why are you making everything about race? And then she goes, SMH 2025. And then that divides a group of people. And then she can play both sides, and she can be a victim and a hero and a victim and a hero. And it goes on and on and on. Well, you're not really taking a chance. You're just saying, oh, that's one guy said this one thing that could be portrayed in one way. It's very bad directing. It's like you're trying to make a movie in your head, and you're not directing it well.
Yeah, and you're being overly cute.
Yes.
In the middle of all of that.
Yeah, you're too obvious. Josina Anderson, this is too obvious. And the only reason I bring it up is because John put it in, and I did think it was interesting because it's like you're trying too hard.
When I read it, that's the first thing I got. I mean, this is 3 paragraphs on Twitter.
Yeah, it goes on, but
crazy.
It goes on, but you can tell she's just going on because she's feeling it. Like there's really no reason to read it. You can go yourself.
Yes.
In fact, I suggest you follow her. I mean, she's on the event. I mean, she's an alum of CVS and Showtime.
Oh.
Where they showed Soul Man on repeat constantly. All right. Well, there you go. So that's what Josina Anderson's up to. She's being cute and obtuse in order to get people to feel sorry for her. Shedeur Sanders being brash. I don't know where that could come from. Oh, that's right. His father used to wear gold chains and cut his Bobby Bowden let him just do whatever the hell he wanted to on the field. And look, Deion Sanders turned that Colorado program around, and who thought he would? And Deion Sanders deserves the right to be brash. He's one of the greatest athletes ever to play. But the idea that someone in his family who's going to be a number 1 pick is brash, and somehow this is code for this guy's like incredible racism. When Cam Ward is going to be the guy taken ahead of him, and Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels went last year, you understand what I'm saying? There's not a big point to be made. But we will move on. Jim McBride, who we'll have to get his take on Josina Anderson. I don't know if they've been in cahoots. He will talk to us about the Bruins as they're up against it, and then trade needs to be made. We'll be right back.
you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Coyle tries to get it back into the attack zone. He does, but the horn will sound, and the Wild will hang on for a 1-0 victory here on their home ice.
Oh, you're ducking the question.
No, I'm really not. I'm really like we're so far behind. It's
All
like
right.
making me itch.
You sure?
Yeah.
Where?
You don't want to know.
Okay. Give 12 some hydrocortisone in the form of Jim McBride joining us now.
Boy, Jim, it sounds like someone. Jim, did you yell at Adam off the air?
Wow.
I did not. I've been very quiet.
All right, because you heard him. He was testy.
Yes.
He didn't want to get involved. All right. He's very afraid of it.
Being late is one of my triggers.
Being late.
Well, then you should.
In general, in life.
Well, it's good that you're not a female, because then you would have a lot of problems. Jim McBride is the beat writer for the Bruins at the Boston Globe. Hello, Jim.
Good morning, guys. And I can tell you that's not Josina Anderson's first cryptic tweet. She's had a lot of them.
Yeah, and it shows a brazenness, to be that obtuse. It shows like you're really going after things. I just found it very confusing. I don't even know what she does for a living now. But anyway, Jim, let's tune. I thank you for you weighing in. Thank you. It's something that Adam wouldn't do. All right, Jim. Look, have you heard? Is there any injury updates on McAvoy or Marchand or Frederick?
Well, not really. I know there was a report out of Canada that Brad's injury is not that serious. I did see him Sunday in Minnesota before the game. He was on the phone, so he didn't look like impaired in any way. So I don't know what the injury is, but he was walking fine. So I'm sure it's upper body. But other than that, no. I don't think we'll see McAvoy this year unless they go on a run and get back into the solidly in the playoff race rather than being outside it like they are right now. So I don't think so. And Trent was week to week, so he was in a walking boot last week. So those two, Marchand and Frederick, that could affect whether they're on the trade market or not. Those injuries, I still don't think that they trade Marchand, but we'll see with if teams are shy away from Frederick because he's hurt.
Did anything that happened over the weekend in the NHL with trades affect your opinion either way about Marchand being traded?
No, I don't think so. I still think that he wants to stay here. The Bruins would like to keep him here. I know there's been, the thought that he could be traded and then turn around and sign back with the Bruins on July 1st. I'm not sure he's interested in doing that. And I just don't think you do that with the captain and the guy that has such a respected place in that locker room and in that organization. So I would be really stunned. I don't think Brad's the type of guy that's going to go to them and say, hey, I want a chance to win this year. Can you trade me? I know guys have done that in the past, but he just doesn't feel like that type of guy to me.
But at the same time, Jim, isn't it the best business for this team to deal as many solid assets as they can to bring back draft picks and younger players, both of which they need?
Yes, but I don't know, how much assets you're going to get for Brad if he's on a rental and he's 36. I don't know if it's worth cashing in your captain for what's going to come back.
But at the same time, and this is what I think Fred was alluding to, you saw some prices that were a little higher than we thought for players not as good over the weekend. So maybe you do get a second. Maybe someone will give you a first. I mean, if you're Colorado or you're Las Vegas and you're looking for that one player to put you over the top, who cares about dealing a bottom of the first round draft pick?
Yeah, that's true from their perspective. I just don't know if it's true from the Bruins' perspective. But a first round pick, I would be stunned if anyone was going to offer that. But I think you'd want a high first round draft pick if you're gonna get rid of one of the cores of your franchise. Now maybe there's talk behind the scenes that Brad's okay with this, but everything that he's indicated to us is that he wants to stay here, and. So I kind of have to take him at his word because he's always been a really solid and honest guy with us.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he doesn't want to go. I think that's pretty certain as well. All right, let's say they are able to, move some minor things and they can sell what they can sell. They're obviously not buying. this season, let's just write it off then at this point. Like, just in this case that we're hypothetical. You going into next season with the raised salary cap, the money coming off the books, and being healthy, can you see a trajectory for this team being a playoff threat next year with the right tweaking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have to, they've been willing to spend, right? Like they spent last summer. You just have to spend the right amount, and you have to get the right guys. Now, I think last summer they targeted the right guys. They just might have overpaid for them. Like Elias Lindholm is making a lot of money for a guy who's, kind of a matchup center at this point. So you have to. There's some talent there. There's some tools there. It's just they need some kind of infusion of young speed is what I think one of the things that they're lacking most of.
Okay, so one more thing on Marchand. There seems to be like this belief that if he were to leave, there'd be this leadership gap in the room. How much of a problem would that be, Jim, in this particular season? Obviously, you want to have guys feeling good about playing, but in terms of what it would mean for this season and the outcome of the number of wins and losses on the board, would it make that much of a difference?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, they've been playing, without Charlie McAvoy, who's one of their alternate captains for a while. Brad's been out for a couple of days now. There's some other, veteran guys on that team like Charlie Coyle, Brandon Coyle, Brandon Carlo, that can kind of make up for the leadership void in the room. But I think that it just sends a bad message throughout the organization when you trade your captain and a guy that's been a very loyal soldier to the organization, not only in this locker room but down in Providence, and guys that might be on the farm and in the system and could be big parts of this team in future years. It's always in the back of your head if if they're willing to trade, arguably our second best player and the leader in the locker room and a guy that's been the heart and soul and the plasma of this team for so long. I think that sends a bad message to younger players.
Let's talk about the younger players for a second. You see Merkulov, he's up, he's down, and he really doesn't seem to make too much of an impact while he's here. I think everyone in this room who's watched Mason Lowry play over the last couple of weeks, he is at times electric offensively. I don't know how he is on the defensive end. And then there's Fabian Lysell, who at last check, I think was a third-line right wing the last game Providence played. So can any of these three really give a big impact to this team moving forward?
Yeah, I think Lowry is probably your power play quarterback of the future, regardless of when McAvoy comes back. I think he's very creative back there. He's got really excellent vision. He makes some really great passes. When him and Pasternak are on the power play together, I think it's really clicked in the last 2 weeks or so that they've played. So I think that he's a guy you can build around. Merkulov is, as you say, he's been inconsistent. He shows some flashes on the offensive end, but him and Lysell too, they haven't really quite grasped that 200-foot game that you have to be responsible in the neutral zone, in your own end. And until you do that, you're not going to flourish in the Bruins system because it's just you leave yourself open to 2-on-1 rushes, odd man rushes the other way. And that's not a way to win hockey games in the NHL.
All right. Well, Jim McBride, as you've heard, Adam is very big on being on time, so I'm going to blame him for this. We're up against it. Jim McBride, please read him in the Boston Globe. He covers the Bruins this very exciting week of the trade deadline. Thank you so much for the time, Jim.
All right, you bet, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Day.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. I've done a little investigation. The Jets QB coach, Charles London, he is African-American.
Oh! Dun, 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 dun.
So it's not the Jets. Or if it is the Jets, is it somehow, I don't know. Josina Anderson, you've got my head spinning. Hardy, let's talk about the mystery in your life next. Let's do that.
All right.
Hardy's got a little mystery, and he's handling it like a champ. Let's get into what's going on with him. This is something he's been talking about off air that I can't help but
really crawled inside his head and stayed there.
I can't help but be interested in.
Yeah.
So we will find out all about that. Here are the headlines.
Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Dutcher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Dutcher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Hardy, you can tell us what you've been, tell the world what you've been saying on the air. You actually had the idea to like kind of think tank this.
Yeah, crowdsource it.
Yeah.
See if we can figure this out. Text from my wife yesterday. At 1:36 p.m. when she knows I'm playing pickleball, you know, like she knows the schedule. Okay, don't bother me. I'm out there. I'm at the Pickle Palace. Okay.
But she knows probably when you read the text, you're going to be all like kind of blissed out on leftover adrenaline and fatigue.
Yeah. An hour and a half later. So an hour and a half after she texts, I reply, "Do you think you can take Friday, June 27th off?" I said, "Sure." "For what?" She said, "Don't worry about it."
Ooh.
So now I'm just seething.
Yeah.
Now I'm upset
Because you love surprises.
Exactly. The endorphin rush from the pickleball session is completely counteracted by this passive aggressive nonsense. Right?
Yeah.
So I go home. I'm like, you know me. I do worry about it. Never confuse me with a guy who just doesn't care. I care about everything. What's June 27th? Don't worry about it. I said, if you don't tell me, then I'm not going. Whatever it is you're thinking about doing, I won't do it. I don't like surprises. And you know, how many days? How many days is it? 2. Well, why can't you tell me? What's the big deal? It's for your birthday. Well, my birthday's in March. I know, but I want to give you this for your birthday, and it's June. You'd have to take off June 27th. I said, what? You know I'm going to have opinions on, does it involve travel? Kind of. All right. How many days? 2 days. So there's an overnight involved? Yes. Well, I have opinions on all these matters, and I don't want to be left out of the loop. I don't want to be left out of the planning stage, and there's a pretty fair chance I don't want to go. Now, this is me being as nice as I possibly can because it does involve a gift for me. But I said, I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. She said, go for it. So she doesn't think I can figure it out. I need help figuring this out because I went downstairs after and then I just start yelling upstairs to her as I'm Googling things online.
Now, is this playful, like you're playing the role of a curmudgeon and she's playing the role of like the kind of pleasantly put upon wife?
She's definitely enjoying this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so you're not just savagely berating her?
No.
Okay.
God, come on.
All right.
Please. Been married.
Just making it clear.
Yes. So I'm yelling up from the basement, I don't want to go see Cage the Elephant in Manchester, New Hampshire, if that's what this is about. I don't want to go to the anniversary of the Mystic Pizza opening in Connecticut that weekend. You know, I'm just trying to find things online. I can't figure it out.
Is there anything that it could be that was for the two of you, in all seriousness, that you think that you could really actually enjoy?
Is there some kind of concert the two of you could see?
Because it's a nice gesture, but in reality, I mean, you've got 3.5 months to like either build expectations or fret. And then when it ultimately happens, it's going to have to be something fairly spectacular in order for it to like kind of hit.
Yeah.
Especially with a guy in his 50s, like, you're kind of like at a place where it's like very difficult to impress.
So the first thing I thought of was Lyle Lovett.
Yeah.
But we're probably going to see him sometime in May, either in a couple of different venues that he's playing around here. And then he doesn't have any shows scheduled in June. So it's not Lyle Lovett. That would be one thing she would know I'd be down for if we're going to go, you know, someplace. But that's not it. That's not it. And that's the only concert I think. It wouldn't be the
Hardy.
Who.
I think I might have one that involves travel.
I think I have one too. Go ahead. You first.
Maybe, maybe she found out where the singer of the Gin Blossoms is bartending.
The June 27th happens to be when they are celebrating 100 years of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh,
no.
No? That's not something that would...
and then 2 days. No, it's not enough time.
Would you even like that?
No.
No, of course not.
I would go to the Grand Ole Opry if I were already there,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
wouldn't. I would make a special trip to go.
Yeah, it's no treat.
This involves travel too. Do you like Metallica?
Oh, it wouldn't be Metallica.
Wouldn't be Metallica?
Nah.
Okay.
He worked in radio during all that time.
Okay.
They'd be taking sand to the beach.
Okay, it's not The Who. It's not Lyle Lovett. Let me check Jim Blossoms. That's
Okay.
actually interesting.
All right.
But
But-
there's a healthy budget if it's the Gym Blossoms.
See.
Hey, the cover
pretend-
charge is on me.
You pretend to help, but you hurt at the same time. Now, they're playing at June 14th in Woodstock, Georgia, and they don't have another show scheduled until the 4th of July at Red Rocks. Thank you very much.
Well,
With-
Woodstock, Georgia is only an hour from Atlanta, so you should get down there immediately.
At Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors, that Jim Blossom show, July 4th.
Wow.
Red Rocks Amphitheater. That's a big show.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm thinking it might be something on the 28th. It could be 2 nights because the 27th is a Friday. So what's
boy.
happening in...
Oh, boy, someone knows.
Do they know?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it might be the Rocket Classic Golf Tournament up in Detroit, Michigan.
There's no way. No.
Is that when it is, Dennis?
Yeah, according to my quick Google search.
That's what it is.
From
Dennis,
former
you just
champion
ruined the
David
surprise.
Davis.
You just ruined the surprise. And Steven says the same thing. Dennis, I love you. Thank you so much. Take that, Marcy, if you try to do something nice.
Oh, wait
Don't
a second.
I'm at the Pickle
Palace. Oh. Joe Murray just texted me.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Senior Open, June 27th in Newport.
Hey.
See,
Oh, wow. That's
this
a sad
is
state of
this is
affairs.
this is something you have to consider too. This is something that she also wants to do.
Well, then it's definitely the senior tour. Because
But
Lord
it's-
knows she's a Freddie Couples
No,
disciple.
but it's Newport. I don't think she has any desire to go to Detroit, but of course she wants to go to Newport.
Well, the golf tournament in Detroit would be a sweet gesture because she's taking you home. Maybe she's like reached out to some of your family and friends, and they have like a little like thing for you, and then you go to the golf tournament, and she sits at it for a day, and and bears with it. But
Oh, wait a second. No. The U.S. Senior Open is in Colorado Springs that weekend.
oh well, that takes that off the
right.
table.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a pretty lame surprise if she was like, "I'm taking you 50 minutes away to go watch old guys play golf." The thing in Detroit would be a nice gesture because and especially if she planned something while you were there, that would be a nice gesture. Because really, the golf tournament is just kind of a cherry on top of the real reason that is to reconnect with people that you love, and that would be a very sweet thing.
But I don't think she'd want to do that. I don't think
But that's the point of a present. As you know, a present, regardless of value or intent, means nothing to a woman unless you didn't want to do it. And that's in stone. Like if you order flowers from a flower service, no. You have to go to the florist and pick them up. Like where'd you get my gift? Did you order my gift online? Like that doesn't matter. Like you had to trudge through snow and like sit in a waiting room for 4 hours waiting for a sales assistant for it to matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for her to get. It would have to be something she doesn't want to do.
Billy Jaffe says she's taking you to the NHL entry draft in Los Angeles, June 27th. This isn't helping.
Attaboy, Billy.
I think it's probably, if it's the Rocket Mortgage thing, then it's very sweet. That I will say.
Where is the Rocket Mortgage?
It's in
thing?
Detroit.
It is in Detroit. That
It's
would
at
be a
the
nice
Detroit
gesture.
Country Club.
That would be a very nice gesture.
And
Get you a little hospitality tent working there.
And she knows how much I enjoyed the trip to Detroit we took, or I took, and you were on the same trip, Fred.
Yeah.
A month or so ago, and I've said many times since then, like I'm definitely going back. I'll be back in the spring and summer, and I'm going to go see people I didn't get a chance to see this time around, and do that trip more often.
I'm so confident that I'm saying that it's very sweet. It's a very sweet gesture. That would be nice. I would like that if I was you.
I would like it too. I don't think that's it though.
I mean, no one gave me anything for my birthday.
What?
I got a Yadro clown for my ex-wife that she already had as a joke.
I gave you a T-shirt.
I had it on yesterday.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I wear it all the time.
Yeah.
I wear it
Smash
to the
that clown
gym.
yet? You and Milo smashed the clown yet?
No, we forgot about it actually until just now. All right. Yeah, Hardy's shirt I wear all the time. It's the guy from Stand and Deliver. Edward James Olmos. Doing the finger thing.
Desire.
Finger man. Top student. All right. When we come back, I'm sorry to go intrigue twice, but something very weird happened on Sunday involving Nicholas. And you know about it, but I will share it with the audience in just a moment.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
College basketball reaching its
end zone, trying to keep the play alive. Falling down, he throws to the end zone. It's caught. He's got it. Touchdown.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston. 98.5, the Sports Hub. A Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Bruins will be back home tonight to play Nashville after taking last night off. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Brad Marchand not expected to play tonight thanks to the upper body injury he suffered on Saturday against Pittsburgh. Sportsnet in Canada is reporting that although this injury is expected to keep him out through Friday's trade deadline, it is not expected to be long-term. As expected, Cincinnati placed the franchise tag on wide receiver T. Higgins again yesterday. Also, the Bengals have waived starting offensive lineman Alex Kappa. In other NFL news, the Philadelphia Eagles have released 34-year-old defensive back Darius Slay, and Minnesota will reportedly not use the franchise tag on quarterback Sam Darnold today, but they still hope to re-sign him. The Red Sox and Baltimore Orioles played to a 6-6 exhibition tie in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. They play in Bradenton today against Pittsburgh. Tony Clark, the head of Major League Baseball, the Major League Baseball Players Union, said yesterday he expects the owners to implement a lockout following the 2026 season. And in NBA news, the Dallas Mavericks lost big to Sacramento 128-98, and they also lost Kyrie Irving. He suffered a non-contact left knee injury in the first quarter and did not return. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the new Daytime Deals menu at the 99, available Monday through Saturday until 5 p.m. Enjoy new specials like the flatbread combo or the Vermont cheddar chicken sandwich. You gotta love the nines. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
New England plays here.
Ball down the right side. There's a separation. Yeah. Touchdown pass. Yes. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
Considered it.
Yeah. I think
Could be.
that'd be a great gift.
Nelson said, I think Hardy's surprise is a trip to see Incubus at Mohegan Sun on June 28th.
I'm sure.
Could be, but it wouldn't require taking Friday off.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes.
Unless there's like a meet and greet, the morning.
By the Pie Gal Poker Room?
2 days before the show, yeah.
Okay.
In the Wolf Den.
Of course.
Okay. So now I understand what's going on. All right. The awful announcing who, if I get shot and die, is responsible for it.
Yeah. You're firmly on record on that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these are written by human beings anymore. It says Boston radio host Fred Toucher goes after Pat McAfee. If you listen to him, you're an idiot. They stole this article from Barrett Media, which they monitor, and then they just put it in their own things. He's brash, controversial, and undeniably influential, from breathing new life into college game to making waves on ESPN's daytime lineup. McAfee has mastered the art of grabbing your attention and awful announcing's headlines. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, his style ruffles feathers, especially if you're not a fan like Fred Tudger, but his impact on ESPN is unmistakably positive, especially from the ratings standpoint. That's not true. So anyway, so that's how the article starts. And so the reason I mention this is I was looking at our Twitter because in order to give context to this tale I'm about to tell, I was looking for like some random like mean thing that someone tweeted out. And I found, says the guy, this is it's the title of the article, and this guy says the guy I never heard of yet. His last name, that seems like a nickname given to a coworker who's constantly recalled to HR. And then Cerrone Battle steps in. Says his morning show is probably the highest rated major market sports show in the country, and it has been for a decade. If Toucher and Hardy were nobodies, then what he said wouldn't have the weight and wouldn't be discussed yet. Here we are, Cerrone Battle. My man going into battle for us.
Mm-hmm. Like that.
I like that as well. And so anyway, so that's like a normal, like hateful. It's not even hateful. It's just like a dumb joke about my last name and how I'm a nobody. That's generally how hate mail goes. Someone has a problem with something I say, or they'll just be like, you're ugly or something like that, right? Like you put a picture up, they'll be like, oh, you're ugly. Like it makes sense. So on Sunday, I go to the Celtics game with my son, and you guys know there's this edict to put stuff on social media, correct? That's why Hardy and I made the videos from Detroit. So I told my son, I go, look, I'm going to have to put a picture up. And I meant to tag. I couldn't figure out how to. I'm old. I couldn't figure out how to make you guys contributors. I'll have to check in again after the show to figure out how to do it. I figured this stuff. So I go to his page on Instagram, and it's protected, but I go, oh, my goodness, look at this. He's friends with Nick Gemelli.
Oh, boy.
So I text Nick, and I go, do you know who this guy is? And he goes, yeah, he's a good friend of mine. And he goes, I'll text him. And, Nick, I'm going to need you to get on a microphone. Because there's
bring him into the studio. Bring him into the studio.
Bring him in the studio. Play the music.
Here he comes. It is 30 feet. Take your time, Nick.
Hi, Nick.
He's hustling. This is just what it takes him to do.
He just sat down.
All right, there we go.
Hi, Nick.
So, Nick, you know how when you're friends with someone on Instagram or follow someone on Instagram, if you have a mutual follower, it will come up, even if their account's private? Yes. So I thought it was funny, so I said, Nick, you know, who are you friends with this guy? He goes, yeah. I go, do you know this guy? He goes, yeah, he's a good friend of mine. He was in my wedding.
Yeah.
And so this is a guy who's always telling me to F off. So I go to Nick. He goes, I'll text him. And I go, no, Nick. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm just curious. It's more funny than anything, correct? I said that.
Yes, I was more mad.
And then I know, and I like, there's no reason to be mad. But when I saw you as friends with Nick, he's so his vulgarity and his just flat out animosity towards me is fascinating. So I wondered if I did something to him because he was friends with Nick. And I wonder if I was out with Nick and I was drunk or something and I said something to him or I was an a-hole to him. But I've never met the guy, apparently.
You haven't? No.
So Nick has got this friend, Nick Gemelli, who's been employed with the show for, Lord knows, how long have you been with the show?
Total 11 years.
Yeah, so 11 years this guy's been getting a paycheck. Or some of that was an internship.
Yeah.
But you know, I see Nick 5 days a week. And so it is a little odd to me that someone who stands out in a crowd of like, say there's 100 comments on the thing, the guy stands up and he's doing it repeatedly, is a guy that was in your wedding party who you're still very close to.
Yes, very close.
For being a friend.
It is fascinating. Now, Nick, you ended up reaching out to the guy despite my I didn't want you to.
Right. You told me I didn't have to, but I was not happy about I was like, what are you doing?
All right. So what did the guy end up saying?
He was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot of things going on in my life. This entertains me. And I was just joking.
Yeah, but I don't get how that's entertaining.
I don't get it either.
Like, I don't have a lot going on, so I'm just going to tell a guy, I thought I had really done something to him, and I felt bad. So he wins. Like, do you understand? I didn't feel bad, like, wow, this listener hates me. Because that stuff is just engaging with the show, and that's better than being ignored. It was so, like, personal, and there's just these random, frequent personal attacks on me that I really thought I had done something. But I'm not the only one he's engaged with.
No, he is he has done this before with somebody at the sports.
Well, he did it with Dan Lifshitz.
Yeah, with Dan Lifshitz.
And how did Dan Lifshitz take it?
I didn't take it well.
All right.
Go figure.
What did Dan do when he found out that you were friends with him?
So apparently my buddy kept on tweeting him nonsense, and to the point that Dan texted me and my Tucker, who used to work here.
I know
at the
Tucker,
sports yeah. Asking who the hell is this person? I want his contact information. I still have friends in Providence. I know people and all that stuff.
He was inferring that he knew of people that would come up and rough the kid up.
Right.
So he calls these people and he says, "Look, I need you to do a felony assault for me." And they go, and also I need you to drive like an hour and a half to do it.
And also, I don't know who it is, but you're going to have to track him down and do some internet sleuthing.
Well, no, but say he knows the guy. So he goes, "Look, I need you to come up and do this felony assault for me. I need you to drive up an hour and a half." And they go, "Sure, like what happened?" This guy is mean to me on Twitter. And they're like, "No problem." Well, let's risk the whole syndicate. We'll all come up here and rough the guy up for you.
See, that was funny.
Yeah,
because
that
it was
is-
Liz Schatz.
yeah, that's
I
funny.
liked Liz Schatz a lot, but then when
he's so pompous and he's got such a hair trigger that he's very funny to poke.
But Liz Schatz is outside the show I've been working for years.
Right. So it is kind of odd.
different.
It was odd to everyone. The only reason I have this on the air is you guys told me to. This is a guy who is a groomsman in Nick's wedding. And he spends his time just telling me to go F myself and how effing terrible I am and what an effing piece of crap I am. And did he not think that there was any way, like, I'm not the president. Like, I have enough of a lack of followers where I can kind of check. And so if I see, did he not know that I was going to see that you were friends, or was that in his intention? Does he want my attention?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's your friend.
It doesn't make sense.
Has he ever talked about me to you off the air?
No.
See, this
Not
is,
really.
This is all kinds of strange.
Do you know what
weird.
is his motivation for me to pay attention to him? What does he want?
I have no idea what his intentions or motivation is.
Because if he emailed me and he said, "Hey, I'm friends with Nick. I was a groomsman in his wedding," I'd email him back and be like, "Hey, what's up?" I don't understand the tact of "F you piece of ass." Like, why that tact to get my attention when he could? Here's a way to get someone's attention, and I was telling this to my kids the other day. No matter how famous the person, far more famous than I could ever imagine being. If you went up to him and you said, "Look, I'm a big fan," say they're a movie star and they were in a movie called The Room, and you said, I love The Room. I'll tell you, that scene in the park, it moved me. The person's going to go, "Oh my God, this guy really has appreciated my work. It's what I do." And they're going to take that as a positive and engage, unless they're a horrible piece of garbage. So if you go in with like an appreciation of someone and go in expressing that appreciation, the chances of engagement are like 1,000 times better than being negative. And also it will be a positive engagement. And if it's not, it's on the guy. So then you have a story. George Clooney was a piece of garbage to me. Like, I went up to him at this party and I said this stuff and he told me to F off. Can you believe that? And now you're like got this great story. Worst case scenario, you got a great story. Never meet your heroes. This just swearing at me and there's no context to it. It's just a picture of me with my eyes closed. It's not "you're ugly" or it's you. It's like "F you, you're a piece of ass."
Right.
Like, it's such a really unspecific insult.
And the most recent one, because he's done it before, apparently.
He's done it a bunch.
This one was, this guy is the biggest piece of crap on this app, but he used different language and everything. I'm like,
I mean, I got to imagine there's. I got to imagine there's like vicious felons on this app. I can't think that I'm the worst.
Yeah.
All right. So how long have you been friends with him?
Since high school.
Has he ever expressed this hatred towards anyone else that you know besides me and Liv Schatz?
I don't think so.
Is he
no.
married?
Yeah.
Does he have kids?
Yeah. That's why it's. Oh my God.
So he's how old are his kids?
Oh man.
Approximately.
Probably between 4 and 6.
He doesn't have anything to do. He's got everything to do.
You can have like hobbies as long as they don't take up too much time. And his hobby sounds like saying awful, hurtful things to Fred out of context for no reason to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
That's his hobby.
That is his hobby. Now, does he derive pleasure from that, like real pleasure?
Dude, I have no idea why he's doing this
because
the first
a
place.
Therapist would tell you that if you put out all this negativity, that ultimately that's not going to lead to good feelings. I'm fascinated by this gentleman.
This doesn't fit the profile at all. This is really bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Well, no. Because people will say something like, "Whoa," and then you'll look and it'll be like "loving dad of little girl." Like, they'll say like "loving," which always is good for a laugh. Yeah, oftentimes a single dad. A lot of times where this venom's coming from, but and sometimes it's like a beautiful family photo, and they're just like, for some reason, on a Sunday afternoon, they're all riled up. Sunday at like 4 o'clock, he's got 2 little kids running around.
How long
he
has
all
he been
right?
married for?
Oh, geez. For 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, so whatever. So he and he's not angry in his personal life. Like
No, he has his life together. He has a happy marriage. He has 3 kids. He has a more. No, he does.
No. So he has a happy marriage. He has 3 kids.
3 kids, yes.
And he's got a job.
He's got a job.
And on Sunday afternoon, he follows me on Instagram.
Yeah.
So on Sunday afternoon, he can just tell me to F off?
Apparently, sitting back watching the Celtics game. Hey, I'm going to troll Fred.
And
But it's not trolling. It's
not
just
even
telling me
trolling,
to
it's
F off.
Right. And Nick's got his phone open and sees that and says,
I think Nick is behind all of this.
Yeah, it's my
No, but you understand that it's not trolling. That's the thing. Like, trolling is a desperate attempt to get people online to like side with you by bringing out someone negative in someone else. That I understand. That's a condition.
So strongly disagree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, Dan. Well, listen.
You're a moron.
We've
I
learned-
don't know what to tell you.
We've learned 2 things. One, don't come after Dan. He knows people still in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And they will come take care of business. And 2, just because you're happily married with 3 kids doesn't mean on a Sunday afternoon.
I really wish I still had the exchange with Dan and me and Tucker.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Well, the Lifshats part is the cherry on top.
Yeah.
That Lifshats lost his mind to the point where he's pretending like he knew people that were going to come up and like get the guy.
He wants to go to his house and beat the crap out.
You know people in Providence? Oh, do ya?
Yeah. Like, again,
Big
like,
tough guy.
hey, like, I need you to come up here and do this felonious assault. I need you to break this guy's kneecaps. Well, that could give up the whole operation. Like, we get 2 guys charged with assault. They're going to start investigating why this happened. Why do you need it happen?
just get it done.
This guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Making fun of me. I can't have that. You said a lot of mean things. Well, anyway, Nick, that's good to know. It puts a face and a profile to a very disturbing behavior. Do you think if his wife knew he was doing that, she would think it was weird?
Probably, yeah. Probably.
That's a definitive yes. He's couching this as best as he can. He knows.
I'm not saying the guy's. I'm not even saying his first name, and I've restricted his account so no one can see the message.
Yeah.
I don't want him to. I don't want him to get in any. I don't want him to have anything negative happen. This has nothing to do with him.
Probably listening to this, if she would probably be like, yes.
Really more of a character study, not only of him, but of you as you continue to be friends with him after this.
Yeah, why are you still friends with him? No, I'm just kidding. All right, thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate it. There he goes. I can't believe it's such a home run that he was a groomsman in your wedding. And this is how he's spending his Sunday afternoon.
Wild.
All right, very good. Andrew Callahan has a much talked about article coming out right now in the Boston Herald about the Patriots. He's kind enough to join us in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, guys. Generally, here we talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues. Today, I got to talk about love.
no longer loves things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
Sports
You know, we've taken it a year at a time, and he's earned the right, I believe, Stu, to be able to say, hey, I think he could play for a few more years if that's what he wanted, but we've always had great dialogue, and I think it's really kind of been a year-to-year thing. He's obviously under contract for 2 more years with us, but as long as he wants to play, I know we're feeling really good about that.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Andrew Callahan is the Patriots reporter columnist from the Boston Herald. Andrew Callahan, you have an article, my friend, that everyone is talking about. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, my article in Doug Kites, he would tell you that would have been impossible without me, and I would tell you without question that would not have been the same article without him. So very proud and happy with what we worked on together.
But possible. I mean, you could have pulled it off without.
You don't need Doug, right?
No. I'm just the eye candy here.
It's like Woodward and Bernstein. You take Bernstein out,
yeah,
then then there's no Deep Throat. Nixon.
I mean, Bob still did some books, though. You know, I don't know.
Well, Bill Murray's very critical of Wired. I'll tell you that. He says that is not a reflection of the last days of John Belushi.
I'll have to get back with him on that.
What did you think of Wired, Andrew Callahan, when you read the 19?
I'm only on season 3 of The Wire, so I'm catching up on just about everything that has to do with that.
Card.
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, if you go to BostonHerald.com right now, the Wu-Tang TD Garden ad is the banner ad, which shows you how old we're all getting. All right, Andrew.
They're advertising in the Boston Herald.
Exactly. All right. So, Andrew, what is going on? And then above it says Wu congressional hearing because of the mayor. It's actually kind of interesting how that happens. All right, Andrew, you have like an idealized version of what you would like to have happen this offseason with the Patriots, correct?
I mean, independent of that article you just referenced, but yes.
Yes. Independent of the article I just referenced, what would be an ideal offseason now as we sit after the Combine?
So Ronnie Stanley is number 1 on my list of this dream scenario for the Patriots, left tackle for the Ravens. Give him 2 years. Almost all guaranteed, somewhere in the ballpark of $20, $22 million. Come in, be a professional, be an above-average left tackle with a peak of maybe top 10. Chris Godwin would be number 2, but let's say this is, not completely perfect plan. I would not just kick the tires on a DK Metcalf trade. I would really push for a DK Metcalf trade, a second, a future third, and then later in the draft, fellas, if I'm at number 4, fingers crossed, both quarterbacks go, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, whatever it might be. I move back from 4 and then recoup a 3rd-round pick that I lost in the DK Metcalf trade. So you sign the best left tackle, you get the best receiver available via trade. You still stay within the top 10 to make a good pick in what's a kind of draft, and you only gave up a 2nd-round pick in the process to get DK Metcalf as your new number 1 wide receiver.
All right. And are you confident that because your last article is very critical of the inside of the Patriots organization? Do you think Vrabel has stabilized things enough? I
do.
Go ahead.
Yes. Everyone we talked to in the front office, and this was not, folks publicly going on the record about their boss, because you'll see there are plenty of unnamed team sources in there. They're blown away by Vrabel. Like the things that they're saying about him, smartest coach I've ever worked with, unbelievable capacity to juggle scouting reports for college players, coaching hirings, pro personnel. Everything involves salary cap. It sounds Belichickian, so they love him. I think it will take time, and they've already started to make changes, as we mentioned in there. Like Vrabel's even gotten the Crafts to pay more for assistants to move and to have relocation allowances. So I think he's making change. He's got the power. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Because the article that you and Doug Hyde came out with, I mean, the organization seems real cheap.
Yeah, I mean, fellas, like it even gets this granular. Like 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago, there were towels in the locker room that were solid navy blue, right? The Patriots, navy blue colors that you have come to learn and the folks listening have come to love. If you go into the locker room 2-3 years ago, hell, some of them might still be there today. Those towels are light purple because of how often they've been washed. So it's a lot of things in there. And some of it was Belichick. Some of it is just an ownership group that's not had to make any big changes like we've seen with coaches over the years, that's out of touch with the salaries and, like I said, the moving allowances. But the other part is you're just not investing as much as other teams are around the league in very basic things for your franchise.
Do you think that's I mean, you can give other examples. I mean, the plane thing and everything else. Do you think that's because I used to give the Crafts the benefit of the doubt because of Belichick was overseeing and everything, and maybe they didn't have it down to that kind of minutia. But the more I'm hearing about it, and the more I hear from guys like you and some other guys, it sounds like the Crafts are kind of interested in being the best businessmen as owners a little bit more than I thought.
Yeah, and I don't think that is necessarily wrong, Fred, right? As you put it, like businessmen stay rich because they operate in the same mindset that got them rich in the first place. But what I would say is that, yes, I'm with you. It's not that I was giving them the benefit of the doubt. I just had such a strict focus earlier in my career, even the last couple of seasons, about the salary cap and money and how much were they allowed to spend. No front office member has ever told me when I asked them that they were put a limit on the cash that they were allowed to spend on the roster. Now, because there's a roster or a salary cap floor, that's not necessarily indicative, in my opinion, of things that would reflect which owners around the league are businessmen who are more willing to invest financially and obviously in their personnel beyond that. Because to me, those are things that don't have a salary cap or floor. We don't have a towel salary cap, okay? We don't have a plane salary cap, but they've chosen to retain the same towels or planes from the last 15, 20 years, where you have players complaining year after year after year in those changes. So to me, when you talk about a cheap ownership group, you could go to the cash spending, which is bottom 10 in the league over the last 11, 12 years, or everything else. And all things, in my view, as I've grown closer to this, point to being cheap.
Okay, so how did they think Mayo was going to in any way succeed? Because another thing is the intrigue of when they found out they were going to get let go and how that affected things. Did they legitimately think under these kinds of parameters that he could succeed?
Yes, but I think what that showed was just a completely clouded judgment and flawed process. Like, you remember Robert Kraft saying on the record last year that the moment he decided Gerard Mayo would be his head coach, this is information he volunteered, was in an airport terminal in Israel as they're coming back, because he looks over and Gerard's just chatting with a bunch of expatriates from different eras. That trip happened before Gerard Mayo coached his first training camp practice. Coaching was something that Bill Belichick had to recruit Gerard Mayo into doing in the first place, because he was around Optum and hanging out and doing media and doing a great job at NBC Sports Boston. So that person, as talented and I think natural Gerard is as a leader, then only gets 5 years of experience. But because he's the guy they pegged from day one and have this utmost belief in, not only in him, but their ability to identify coaches, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, without any kind of error. So it was just an arrogance, an overconfidence in Gerard's abilities, in his growth and development, and in their own. And it was too late to make any changes when they realized it. So they just pulled the ripcord and went with Mike Vrabel, as opposed to saying, hey, even in year two, this probably isn't going to be that great with Gerard Mayo.
Do you think that he could be embarrassed? I mean, I don't even know who's in charge anymore, but Robert or Jonathan, that this is embarrassing enough for them to kind of change their ways? Or is the club of NFL owners' priorities a little bit different than we expect? It's not all about winning Super Bowls.
Yeah, it's a good question, Fred. I think to number two, I think we always overestimate how much these guys want to win, right? Like the Nuggets and the Rams are both owned by the same owners, the Kroenkes. And the Nuggets never go into the luxury tax in the NBA, or very rarely. The Rams are not at the top of the cash spender. So it just so happens that the Kroenkes want to win. But is that a result of them setting a kind of a cultural tone? No. You lucked into a generational coach in Sean McVay, the best player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic. That's not a result of your spending or wisdom or finances. So what I would say as far as the Crafts, it's a good question, because last year at this time, when we get the NFLPA report cards and we're all diving in, the headline of my column was, will this be enough to shame the Crafts? And since then, they have announced a new football facility, $50 million. The timing is interesting in that will open right before the World Cup comes to Gillette Stadium in summer of 2026. And the Patriots will obviously not be able to use some of their facilities. We'll see about that. And beyond that, like, the plane is still here. They actually went from 27th to 31st. So my answer might be no, but we'll see, because we know they have bunny ears. Like, they're listening and feel the pressure of the local media in a way that I can tell you some owners don't. They definitely do.
Yeah, and that's what's the weird about it, right? Is that I know that they're hyper-focused on what people are saying about them, but yet, their interests might not be in line of what we're talking about. Like we just said, the fans and the media are very interested in winning, and that's it. When you're an owner, you're interested in profit and how much your organization is worth and things like that. It's just this offseason is the first time I've really thought it in that perspective. I've always thought that owners are just billionaires that buy teams because they want to be loved.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that, oh, no, there's a game within the game, and that game is look at how we're winning despite not spending. There's like another variable in it.
Yeah, and I would say this, and if you want to defend the Crafts, I think this is a logical case. If you have Bill Belichick doing a certain style of business for 23 years, and that yields the greatest dynasty in NFL history, why would you change course? And we know that Bill offered his front office members, his assistant coaches, tiny salaries as a way of testing them. You come in, you work here. I know you'll want it if you do this for, in the early days, $20,000, and you're a scout, and you're working almost 20 hours a week. So when they get handed the franchise back after meddling some in the later years, they just try to copy and paste some of those practices. But there's no draw for those coaches here. And in fact, there was great offense. Some assistant coaches on staff last year, I heard, took offense to like the moving allowance, being like, wait, I have how long to find a new house? Well, I move on free agency in the draft for you, and my family's away, and I have to do this. And to that point, I just don't think they were in touch with modern practices. But you can be. It just takes a couple of phone calls and some research when you replace the head coach and everything that he did, which is why I think they brought in Vrabel to essentially be Belichick again, to trust him to handle everything.
Yeah, it seems like something that would pop up immediately when you're having conversations with a coach bringing in here. Like, what are you talking about?
Well,
give me 2 weeks.
I had 3 days when I moved from Atlanta, but that's CBS. But it is that was the same thing, Andrew, that we talked about at the beginning when we started talking about your article, is that I'd always thought, look, the Crafts just let Belichick run stuff, and things like the family conditions during the game, like the family room during the game, like how the hell are they going to know, right? Like that's something that's below their pay grade. But now you're talking about planes and facilities and coaches' salaries. I mean, that's all stuff that you have to, there's only 31 other people you got to look to. I mean, there's a structure of an organization, the way business is done. And it sounds to me like the Crafts were kind of flexing, like, look at how much we're winning and look at how little we're spending. And now it's kind of come home to roost. And they're going to have to, in a little bit, is this fair? Swallow a little bit of pride and start spending more money.
Yeah, I think that's well put. And honestly, I think it should have happened a while ago, too, because you mentioned the 31 other franchises. Guys, like, do you remember when they went to Las Vegas and they had joint practices? And Belichick's big comment that week was, oh, this is the Taj Mahal of football facilities.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That comment was update the weight room, Robert. What are we doing? And then afterward, as Doug and I reported at the time, that, part of the delay around the weight room was that they asked Matt Patricia to do it. I don't know. Maybe hire an architect or someone whose job it is to design these rooms and handle it. Not the guy who's like your pseudo offensive coordinator and Bill Belichick's assistant, but that's how they operated. Like there has been, I think, a shock for them in terms of the feedback and the media reception. But the bottom line is, if you're the owners and you have all of the money and you are the boss to literally everyone else in football operations, everything that happens underneath you is your responsibility. So when you want to point a finger, as people were doing not only in this article, but our end of season piece talking about organizational rot, you point the finger at the Crafts.
Yeah, and there's a lot to get into with the end of season piece and this most recent one too, Andrew. And you just one more thing, which is a whole nother layer. We've talked about Robin Glazer before and how couldn't really figure out who she was or what she did. It seemed like even she had like this dichotomy going on where she was in there to do things the opposite of Bill, but was also tasked with cutting costs in areas. And it's like, well, I don't know how you accomplish both of those things, but what came of it was this, continued disorganization and really dysfunction that got them maybe to where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, well, she landed a job at Doge, so I think she's doing okay.
Oh, good for her.
Wow.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
I'm kidding. I'm teasing. Do not cite that to the Boston Herald. But
who knows? I didn't know you were kidding. Who knows? I don't know what's going on. I'm not tied in. Look, we got a break. Adam was very rude before about it. Andrew, it is
Should have heard what I just said in here now.
And
Do you want 15 seconds on Glazer, though, just to wrap up? Because Doug's had additional reporting. It's much more than cost cutting. Like, there were times that people described her as kind of someone who didn't know what she was doing within football operations, actually paid assistant coaches too much. If you want to know more, listen to Doug's podcast, Pat's Chat. Follow us, obviously. Like, some people described her as a nightmare. Other people liked her in the building. But ultimately, she was no good for football operations, as we saw last year. So it was more than cost cutting.
All right. And by the way, look at the renderings of this new $50 million facility and then put it up against what's in Vegas and Baltimore, and it's a joke. All right.
yeah.
Andrew, thank you so much, sir.
Anytime, guys. Hope to see you soon.
All right, take it easy. I mean, these are like small towns that they're building, and the Patriots are building a mansion.
Bert taught us some things yesterday.
It is interesting. All right, here are the headlines.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Back in the day, comedians, every time they came into town, first of all, crappy comedians weren't playing the Garden, which is fascinating. Very fascinating to me. We were in weird times in the comedy world. But nonetheless, if a comedian you liked was coming into town, like Bob Saget, he would come in for like 2 shows, 2 full like morning shows, or like 2 hours a day. Like I became friends with him, and we're having this guy Dusty Slay on coming up at 9 o'clock. We don't have as many comedians on anymore. And I was telling Hardy off air, it's like one of the first times I'd ever did mornings in Atlanta. It was like my second show. Jeff Garland was in, and like no one on the show like knew each other really. And he goes, so it wasn't me, but I didn't fight against it, so I am culpable in this too. Someone asked Jeff to do his act. Can you just do your act
on the air?
On the air.
Oh God.
He's like, can you tell us some jokes? Or she, I don't remember who it was. It wasn't me, but I remember like not. I wonder if I
thinking like, that's not the worst idea. Yeah, just do some of your acts.
I wonder if I still have PTSD from it, because I get really nervous before we ever have a comedian on, and I think that might be the case. Now, Jim Norton's ended up, ironically, becoming a pretty good friend of mine, but my last broadcast ever in Atlanta, I knew that I was gone, but they let me do a final broadcast, and it was on St. Patrick's Day, and we were at a bar. It was actually quite nice. There was a lot of people there, and Rachel Bowen from Skid Row was there.
Bury that lead.
I didn't have to even pay him. He just came. I didn't really even know him, but he was there.
He had to punch out for those few minutes, but then he was
the
back on
clock
the clock.
started at 9. He was there. He was at work in plenty of time. I didn't have him. He got his overtime.
As long as the ice is filled, then you can.
You don't think slave to the grind, he's still getting royalties. But anyway.
He was bar backing.
Jim Norton was there. And so say there was like there was a lot of people. I have pictures. There was like 1,000 people there. It was weird how many people showed up.
When you announced to keep following you on fredtoucher.com.
Yes.
Okay.
You can hear the crowd. There's a good-sized crowd. Maybe 700 people. But it's in the morning. And Jim Norton was there, and I didn't know him at the time. And I wanted to drink and hang out. And it was my last show, so I was like, hey, dude, will you go up? Not on, like, will you go up and why don't you just go up and do 5 minutes?
Oh, no.
Because there's a crowd here. And in my mind, I was thinking, like if you asked Nate Bargatze, like, can you do 5 minutes? He'd kind of be like, F you. But if it's a crowd, maybe he would just go up and do it. But Jim had a really good point. He's like, all right, dude, I'll do it. But if I lose the crowd, I'm swearing. He's like, if I lose the crowd, I'm going to start doing my material, like my real material. And my real material, you're not allowed to do on the radio because he was on Opie and Anthony, right?
Yeah.
So he knows what you can and cannot do. So I now a friend of mine, I had actually embarrassingly asked him to go up and do, which is not as bad as the Jeff Garland thing.
Well, this is the thing. Nobody teaches you this stuff when you start in radio and when you're working in smaller markets and you're alone in a studio at night or in the afternoon, and someone comes in. I remember Robert Schimmel, who was a great guy, rest in peace, very good to me like over the years, and we got to know each other a little bit. But the first time I had him on, it was like back in Vegas, and I kind of mistakenly did something along those lines. And it was off the air, but I said, do you want me to ask you a question, like set you up with anything, like, almost like a talk show pre-interview? You want me to ask you about, your trip out here on the airplane? Well, that's what they do in
like the Tonight Show, right?
Yeah, do you want me to ask you about the food that you had? He's like, don't do that. Don't do that. We're just going to have a conversation. I said, oh, okay. So I had to be taught by one of the comedians how to talk to a comedian on the radio.
Do you remember whose line is it anyway?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember the guy with the glasses?
Greg Proops.
No, he wasn't the guy who went on to be SpongeBob SquarePants. But I think it is Greg Proops.
Proops is the guy you're talking about.
He came in. He got up in the morning and came into studio. And in studio, I don't know if he heard something over the monitor while he was waiting or what happened. But he came in and he put his feet up on the console and read the paper. and it ended up being fantastic.
What a dick.
It ended up being fantastic.
Why?
Well, you can imagine how I handled it.
yeah.
And this is when I was 25.
Okay.
I'm 25 years old. I ripped the paper out of his hand. I'm like, you're on a dumb improv show. Who the hell do you think you are? Like, why'd you even get up and come in? Go do the top 40 station and talk about socks. And he did, and then he was like, well, and I still don't know why he did it.
How did he handle all of this?
Not well. I don't really remember. I wish I had tapes all this stuff, but I don't. No one else wishes they had them. That's why they don't exist. It would only be for me.
Yeah,
and I'd
Bruce
never
wasn't
listened to
even
him.
the star of Whose Line Was It Anyway?
No. That was the guy that was on the Drew Carey show.
Yes.
I've told
The
you
tall
my,
guy.
my favorite comedian appearance I've ever heard on the radio, and this is how I'm remembering it now. Maybe I'm romanticizing it a little bit, but it was when Larry Miller came on the morning show with you. And he's the guy who plays the store clerk in Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do some serious kissing up today?
Oh, yeah.
That
Hey,
guy?
he's been a bunch
Do you
of
remember his appearance? He came in, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and you were like, okay. And he probably had the same, like, oh, how's this going to go? Larry Miller is here tonight. He's playing the comic. And he said, gentlemen, I just walked by your kitchen when somebody opened the refrigerator door, and I smelled a smell I've never smelled before. And he did 5 minutes on the smell that came out of the refrigerator in the Sports Hub bathroom, and may have even been BCN at the time, and he killed. I don't think he asked him one question. You may have mentioned the show like at the end of it, but he just goes on and on and on about the smell and who was responsible for it, and you and you and you and you. It was almost like crowd work because he
Yeah.
was just kind of improving it, and it was done. It was like, okay, that's it. And he's, thank you very much.
Yeah, and that's just having the discipline not to step on it,
Yeah.
right? Like you just like, all right, this guy's going to take it. He
Yes.
does this
Yeah.
for a living. Let him go. And yeah, he's like old. I don't remember it probably because it wasn't traumatic. I tend to only remember the traumatic,
The bad
incidents,
stuff.
The bad stuff. Yeah. On the air, I tend to only remember the bad stuff. That is true. All right, so Dusty Slay, he's a big comic. He's in that Bargatze posse of comedians, which is not the Joe Rogan posse of comedians. So we have saved you that because there's varying degrees of skill that's coming out of that. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
The official oil change of busy people.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
He scores! What a blast by Boston! Howdy, good night! Oh!
WBCFM and HD Boston 95, the Sports Hub, Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
After a night off, the Bruins will be back in action this evening at home against Nashville. Bruins have lost 6 out of 7. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. A report up from Sportsnet in Canada yesterday indicated that Brad Marchand's upper body injury may keep him out through Friday's trade deadline, but he's not expected to be out long term. Red Sox and Baltimore played to a 6-6 exhibition tie in Sarasota, Florida yesterday. They played in Bradenton today against Pittsburgh, and Tony Clark, the head of the Major League Baseball Players Union, said yesterday he expects the owners to implement the lockout following the 2026 baseball season. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the new Daytime Deals menu at the 99, available Monday through Saturday until 5 p.m. Enjoy new specials like the flatbread combo or the Vermont cheddar chicken sandwich. You gotta love the nines. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Boston plays here.
Coming through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Score.
98.5 You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Dusty Slay is bringing the night shift tour to the Schubert Theater on Friday, March 14th at 7. Tickets are on sale at dustyslay.com. Now, Dusty, this might have been oversold to you because I am looking at the one sheet you were given, and it says we're at Worcester, Massachusetts radio station. I didn't want you to get your hopes up and think that you were talking to Central Massachusetts. Oops. And they don't even have the names of the people on the show right. So this is a tight operation. All right, Dusty, hello.
Hey, all right. Hey, I'm pumped to be here. You know, I'm just pumped to be talking to anyone in Massachusetts.
Yeah, because I know you probably prepared some material specifically for Central Massachusetts, so I wanted to give you the heads up to pivot now.
I appreciate that.
Big culture change the 60 miles east, so I do appreciate it.
But rest assured, there are plenty of people in Boston who think of themselves as Southern, who have adopted that mentality that normally you only find in Central and Western Mass. Don't worry about it. I think it'll appeal here also.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
All right. So
because I get very specific about my Massachusetts humor.
Yeah.
And I like a heads up.
Yeah. You gotta curate the act for the audience. All right.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, you, my friend, you put the work in. Like take us through like just where you've lived to establish this career.
Well, I mean, you know, I lived in Charleston, South Carolina when I started comedy. I grew up in Alabama and grew up in a trailer park. So I was just down there doing research. And then I moved to Charleston and I started, you know, drinking and partying and selling pesticides, more research. And then I started doing comedy, started messing around with it a little bit. I spent a little time in New York City. I did 1 month only. I just wanted to see what that experience was like.
All right, let's focus on that because you toured with Bargatze, and he spent time in New York, and now you guys are both in Nashville. That's what I'm fascinated by. Like, were you working out of like the Comedy Cellar and stuff? Because those New York comics are brutal, and you're coming up from Charleston, South Carolina. What was that experience like, New York, for you?
Well, I don't really tour with Nate. I do the podcast with Nate, but I'm all off on my own thing. But I wasn't doing the Cellar back then. When I went to New York, I was totally like open micing it. I was grinding it out. I was doing basement comedy clubs, and it was brutal, but I was learning. And the thing about comedy is if you're funny, people get into what you're doing. Like even other comics, if they're real aggressive on stage or whatever they do, if you can go up and get laughs the way I get them, people really like it. I mean, people tell me all the time, they're like, man, to be able to just stand there and get laughs the way you do is pretty amazing. And because I don't do anything, I don't do any act outs. It's basically all just words.
Yeah, and how do you survive, though? I am interested because it's scary. Like, here you are, you've worked for, you were selling pesticides in Charleston, South Carolina. You go up to New York. You're not making any money. I know you're not there for a long time, and I'm focusing on a small thing, but it is something it's something I like that.
That seems terrifying.
Yeah, that will to go do that, right? To make yourself vulnerable like that seems fascinating to me.
Well, that's what all of comedy is about. I mean, it's like you go to New York City and you go to some tough room like that. It's really hard, but then also you go to Johnson City, Tennessee, in a comedy club that's made in a lounge of a Holiday Inn, and there's 6 people in the audience, and they're all hammered. That's pretty scary, too. There's no security. I had tables yelling at me, and then I watched the manager of the club slowly back out of the club. So you just learn to handle yourself, and and it makes you stronger as a comic. I mean, comics that don't work the road, they're not like you have a lot of internet people that are getting, famous now. And it's like, that's fine. I support it, but they're not necessarily like versed in being a comic. Like they have an audience now, but if they were forced to do comedy in front of an audience that wasn't theirs, they might not be able to do it. So when you just grind it out on the road and in the city, you learn everything.
You did step away for a while, though, after a couple of, bad gigs. Was there anything specific that happened that made you say, you know what, maybe I'm not going to do this after all? You came back to it, obviously, but what really happened that made you step away?
That was very early on, right? I was 21. I was living on Folly Beach in South Carolina, and I was, partying, drinking. And I started doing comedy, right? And the first couple of times I was like, oh, this is really great. I'm really good at this. And then I started bombing. And I'm like, I was trying to write new jokes, and it seemed like I never could write new jokes that were good. And then I was just drinking up on stage and just bombing. And I'm like, I don't need this in my life. Why am I doing this to myself? Otherwise, I have a pretty good job. I have friends. I'm happy. Why do I keep punishing myself with this comedy thing? But, I took a couple of years off, and I said, you know what? Let's give it another try. I had written new jokes. I was older. I was smarter. And these new jokes worked. And I just took a new approach. Instead of I was living in Charleston, writing jokes about the trailer park, but I was like making up all these jokes. I was trying to make up these hillbilly jokes. But I thought, let's just tell real stories. And I did that, and it worked so much better.
Do people still call upon you for pesticide advice? Because I would feel compelled to do that if we were just hanging out. I'm like, Dusty, we got ants even in the winter. I'll find 1 or 2 here or there. Can you still draw upon that expertise if needed to?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go with it. The products are changing here and there, and they get weaker. But I know, I can help you get rid of the ants.
Okay.
I mean,
maybe off the air.
I mean, I'm a little bit more of a hippie than I used to be when I was selling pesticides. So I'm a little more anti-pesticide than I used to be. But you can't have ants.
I agree. No,
I mean, you have to kill them. You have to outsmart them too. Do you think there was any negative effects of the pesticides? Was that a concern to you at all?
It was not a concern at the time. I'll tell you that. I mean, I was living wild, and a lot of these stores, like, bottles will break in the store, and then the store you'll have to write it off for them, and when you write it off, you have to remove it from the store. And then I'm like, I don't know where to take this stuff now. So I used to roll around with pesticides in my trunk, and half the time I was drunk, so I would forget that it was back there, and they would roll around and spill everywhere. I mean, who knows what I've breathed in.
Yeah, so the job is at night, so you can go out and you can just get effed up at the time. And so it's like kind of the ideal job. You're in Charleston, South Carolina. It's just continuing the party.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like comedy back then was just something we did. I never thought I would do comedy full time. Comedy is just something we did while we drank, It was just something that all my buddies, we would all go to an improv theater or a bar. We didn't have a comedy club. And we would just do comedy. And and it was just fun for us. But after a while, I started to be like, wow, I am actually very good at this. I'm doing really well. I started winning. I won the local competition 2 years in a row, and I was winning other little competitions in the area. And I was like, oh, maybe I can't. I mean, it never crossed my mind to make a living doing comedy. I come, very blue collar background. I mean, we gotta, you just gotta work. And I had accepted my fate that I would just be working for the rest of my life. And then I was like, but I'm actually good at comedy. Maybe I could do this.
So
then I moved to Nashville.
Yeah. So you're playing the Schubert, which I'm glad to see. It's a beautiful room, 1,600 capacity. I just looked it up. How does that compare with playing some of the bigger venues, which seems to be the thing now? You get some success. There's a lot of people who want to see you. There's a lot of people who know you. What do you prefer, and how do you handle, especially your brand and your style of comedy in the much bigger venues?
Well, I really like doing theaters. I don't know. You mentioned Nate earlier, and it's like Nate's doing arenas. I don't know that I ever want to do that. That seems too big to me. He loves it. Seems too big to me. But a theater itself, like especially 2,000 or below, still feels pretty intimate, and I like it. I mean, I can, and also. Part of me got into comedy to not have to work so hard, even though I've had to work hard at comedy. But I love being able to go into a city, do one show. Everybody that wants to see me gets to see me, and then we roll out. I'm not doing 5 shows at a comedy club.
Yeah,
but I will do some clubs again because I think clubs are good for writing jokes.
Right. Yeah, trying stuff out. It is like a theater there's an intimacy and like kind of a spontaneousness to it that I don't think you get in an arena. So I'm with you. I don't like arena comedy. Like if you're in the last row, like the subtleties and the facial movements and all that stuff is hard to see. So I'm with you. Dusty Slay. I know you got to go. The Night Shift Tour, Schubert Theater, Friday, March 14th at 7. Follow him at Dusty Slay on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Dusty, thank you so much for the time, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And I am pumped to come to Boston. I've only been there one time. I did Laugh Boston like in 2019. So I'm so excited to come back, and I'm pumped about it. And it's going to be a great show. I have an hour on Netflix that people can watch and an hour on YouTube, and you can watch those and then come see my show, and it's a totally new hour.
All right, very good. Dusty, thank you so much for the time,
Thanks,
sir.
Dusty.
Don't be
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
All right, there you go. Yeah. The great Dusty Slay is now he's informed all of Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
I like when they were booking it, they booked Worcester. Are there even radio stations in like Worcester radio stations?
Yes,
there are.
It is a measured
Yes.
market. Yes.
Yes.
And there are.
Well,
and
why
there
the
are
hell is that
stations
not
there.
combined with our? Because imagine if Worcester wasn't a market,
Right.
and then that would
It would make
expand
the
the
Boston
Boston
metro that much
market,
bigger,
and
yeah.
now we would be. If we had included Worcester, we'd be like Market 7, Market 8.
Maybe.
But it's the actual signal. I mean, it's like things get a little staticky.
Oh, you hear
when you go
98.5 if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You put the work in.
You can, if you want to put a big aerial on your car, but I'm saying things get a little staticky. You get that close to Worcester.
You can take Route 9 to Worcester. Anytime
Yes.
you can stay on surface streets and get to a city, it's a part of the metro area.
Is that the rule?
If my son has to play a baseball game there on a Saturday afternoon, it's part of the metro area, unless we're spending the night. Yes.
It's a fair point, Fred. I would be curious to look at like a map of like the Dallas metro area must be like 3 times the physical size of the Boston metro area.
Well, imagine Jacksonville. Like
Oh, yeah,
Jackson, the
that's
city
better
of
example. Thank
Jacksonville
you.
is 40 miles in circumference.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Like that, if that was it like that in the Northeast, I mean, imagine the New York market.
Yeah.
If you,
you
Long
want-
Island, it's
you
its
want
own
one?
separate market.
Right.
Las Vegas. Holy crap! Because there ain't nothing outside of
Yeah.
Vegas. I mean,
Yeah.
the next closest town of any size is maybe Kingman, Arizona, and where it's situated. That listening range was 4 states, 2 time zones. It was.
Wow.
It just went everywhere.
By the way, Dusty Slay was talking about like experiences he had, or an experience he had, working the road as a comic. If you want, it's a fictional story, but it's really not. a fantastic book, the best book about stand-up comedy I've ever read. And Doug Stanhope says the same thing. It's a book called Running the Light.
Oh, yeah.
And I've suggested that on the air before. And more than anything I've suggested, more than any book I've ever suggested, Running the Light has gotten the most people that respond and say thank you for doing that. We have had the author on before. And if I had any brain, I'd remember who it was.
Do you have a copy I can borrow?
Go to the library.
Not after today, Adam.
Yeah.
Not after your
A lot of
treatment me
libraries,
today.
I'm sure, have it.
Yeah,
What book, Wallach, do listeners most thank you for recommending? Is it A Catskill Eagle?
It's not A Catskill Eagle. That's a Spencer novel, in case you were wondering. It's not A Catskill Eagle.
But he's read every Spencer for Hire book. Is there any other?
He's read all the ones that don't even have Robert B. Parker doing the writing in it.
No, I gave up about 5 years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you tapped out finally?
Lupica came in, and it was just a whole weird
Okay.
Oh,
vibe.
Mike Lupica took over?
Yeah, he did for a while, and now there's another guy. They're like beyond the guy. But it's
my,
a whole mess.
my father was really into Robert Parker, and so in every Christmas he'd get like 4. My mom would go to 7-Eleven and get him 4 of them.
Yeah, and he could because he wrote 4 a year.
Yeah,
Very prolific.
So
yes.
I read the first one because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. The 1st one, and the great thing about it's such a different era. There's this woman who's been held captive, nude, tied up to the wall, and the Spencer comes in, and this is before like Hawker. He's got a girlfriend or anything.
Yeah,
and he comes in and he
Susan
unties
Silverman.
her.
Yeah,
he
that's the
unties
third
her,
book.
takes her home in his car, and bangs her.
Yep.
He
She's
takes her out of
so-
an active crime scene.
and
where
the
she's
only
so
reason-
grateful.
The only reason why he did is because Hawk wasn't around yet. Otherwise, Hawk would have.
Yeah,
Well,
'cause
Hawk
Hawk's the
got all
ladies'
the
man of
runoff
the two of them,
because
yeah.
he was with the girl. But I just was reading it. And I'm like, this is hysterical. Like this led to an empire.
Yep.
This woman is tied up naked.
The Godwolf manuscript, I believe. is the name of the
He
book.
goes up
Very
there. He
good one,
finds her
Yes.
nude. She's so afraid. He unties her. They walk down to his car. They drive back to his place, and he bangs her.
Yep.
I would think that that's morally wrong.
And then he made a borderline gourmet meal for her.
Yes.
That included corn muffins and some kind of a stew.
Which he describes in great detail.
Yeah, my mother, I don't know if it's Robert Parker, but when she comes to town, she's like, I want to go to the Four Seasons bar. And I'm like, all right, if you want to see a homeless guy take a dump in front of the window, here we are.
That was it.
I know I do.
That's a big Spencer pit stop right there. Four Seasons bar. Yeah. I have an
Floor
update.
2 bathroom.
I have an update from
There's
Bill
a
Belichick.
hole in the wall. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a Bill Belichick update. You want to do it now?
Oh, no, you can tease the people.
Okay, let's tease it a little
Let's
bit.
edge him a little
A
bit.
Bill
See what
Belichick
happens.
update.
Well, we got real mail to open today, too.
Yeah, actual physical tactile mail. We'll be back in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5.
Head coach Joe Mazzulla, what can you do better as a team to better maintain your big leads when you have them?
I think a lot of that all comes down to who you're playing against. To me, regardless of if you have a big lead or a little lead, the way you manage 2-for-1, end the quarter, start a quarter, preventing live ball turnovers, offensive rebounding, which is becoming so prevalent in the league today, how we could do that on the offensive end and rebound well on the defensive end. I think when you're in those situations, you got to double down on the margins, the rebounding, the defending without fouling.
Zolak and Bertrand, weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub. Half Toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. And if you want to email us, go to 985thesportshub.com. You can do so. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Toucher and Hardy. You can follow Hardy at Hardy985. And you can follow me at Fred Toucher as I chase the elusive 25,000 followers. We know Nick's friend, a guy who was in his wedding party, one of the bachelors of honor in his wedding party, stood up at Nick's wedding.
I actually must have met this guy because I was at Nick's wedding.
He is a chronic abuser of mine on social media.
Yeah.
He's married with 3 kids. He's got a good job.
Wow.
And on Sunday afternoons, he puts on his bifocals and he spews, tells me to F off and
How
go F
about that?
myself. And I've never met him, I guess. I've never done anything personally to him. I thought I did, but I hadn't. He just does this for sport. So there you go. We've learned something. The mental illness is seeping into our society. Yes, you had Belichick.
I have Belichick news. This is from CBS Sports. After weeks of talks amongst the University of North Carolina head football coach Bill Belichick and NFL Films, the Tar Heels will not be the subject of HBO's Hard Knocks offseason series.
Jordan dropped the ball.
Considering where we are in the NFL calendar, as well as the fact that NFL Films had turned to a college program for the first time ever, it's unlikely any NFL team will participate in the offseason edition of the series this year.
Well, that's a shame. It's almost like this should have happened a decade ago. When was the last time you watched Hard Knocks? The guy from Cleveland, the fat guy from Cleveland, was funny.
Yeah, that was good. Hugh Jackson
who was last
really
year?
funny.
Oh,
Who
the
knows?
Giants were last year.
Who knows? I haven't watched it in 10 years. The last
Yeah.
one, the last good one was the Jet one where Tannenbaum has to drive to the restaurant to meet Revis, like in New Jersey. All right, look, let's not beat around the bush. Hardy loves real mail. U.S. Postal Service.
Who doesn't?
style. And you seem to get a lot of it.
Yeah.
And what do you have today?
I'm
for us,
opening
Hardy?
the box first because I think I know what this is. Based
All right.
on an email.
You've
I
got in a
received.
box. Is there a returned address on it?
18 Pinecrest Village. I don't.
Maybe you shouldn't read the address.
What good does that benefit do to anybody?
Well, when the
What do you
bomb
do
goes
that?
off, they'll know.
Yeah.
Where to search. Maybe we're saving lives. All right, so he's got it. Who gave you the knife?
That's this dull knife that Adam 12 insists upon.
By the way, Adam 12, who insists upon carrying a big-ass knife around.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't even cut tape. It literally doesn't cut tape. I'm not lying. Your knife does not cut tape.
User error.
Oh, wow.
What are we looking at?
This is unbelievable. So I'm pretty sure this came from Tim. Said he was sending a box of work gear. Got some gloves.
Okay.
A lot of nice work gloves. Those are.
Is this stuff new?
Oh yeah.
Because there's no tags on it.
Look at this.
Hard hat.
Oh, so you can cosplay as a blue-collar worker. Yeah, so there's a National Grid hard hat.
Wow.
And then Hardy, he has it on if you're watching on YouTube. Now, he has it on backwards, but he is...
I think so.
I don't know if that flap's supposed to come on. Maybe not. Maybe you had it on right. I don't know. I don't work for
Oh,
them.
it's got a little dial thingy in the back like a ski or a snowboarding
Well, you can't be
helmet.
flying off. I mean, you're working on the power lines. There is an American flag on it.
Yeah.
So you know...
Oh, yeah, there is.
This ain't no commie operation.
One for you too, buddy.
Oh, you know what? Give it to your son. How about that, right? How about that?
You know
Thinking
what?
of the kids. You and your
or
kids.
or the wife.
Ah! Not from behind this time, dear. I got to see the logo.
How dare you?
I think you just crossed a line there with Hardy.
Oh, please.
Hardy cringed a little bit on that one.
Good. All right.
I wonder if these are special, like National Grid gloves, where I won't get electrocuted.
All right. Now he's even doing cute slang.
Yeah, I know.
He's
I know.
really got it. He's really easing
know.
into this.
He's kind
Of what era, Hardy, are you the National Grid worker? Is it of this era or is it of a time gone by?
No, I would say I'm a modern day National Grid era worker.
Okay.
In this particular cosplay.
Is there like a note saying love? Thanks for the interest. Is there like a love note in there for you?
Okay, I have a question.
No, but thank you again, Tim. This is great.
Here,
stuff.
is there a way? Because you could go out to a National Grid site. They don't know each other. Like they can't all.
Yeah.
It's a huge company. And what if there was a hole in like the ground? They were working like underneath the road, and there was like a police detail there.
Yeah, they called me in from Framingham.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything,
Yeah.
and you just put the helmet on and the gloves, and you show up. You get to go down in that hole.
Well, okay.
Would you go in a hole or would you go to the top of the pole? You pick, under or over.
I'm going up. I'd rather go up.
You got the balls for that?
More so than going down because stuff caves in, and I don't have the Wallach fetish. I don't want to be suffocated.
Right.
I'd rather risk taking
Yeah.
a fall than having something cave in on me. But I've got a jacket now too. Another friend of mine liberated something from work.
So there's no reason for you not to show up at a work site.
But I've got it like the full blown yellow fluorescent thin soleil jacket that I could wear that on site.
Now, how did you get
away with it.
the insulated jacket?
A friend of mine got one from work where they have like just, like boxes of them. Hey guys, you're out tonight. Take one of these jackets with you. And he said they just had tons of them. So he grabbed one for me too.
And because he knew that you would like the cosplay.
Yeah.
Is there anything different?
I use it to walk the dog in the, in the dusk hours.
Yeah. So you don't pop out in front of an automobile. How would you see it coming?
Yeah.
I mean, especially from behind, the light doesn't go. Do you know? Is there any difference between a brony? Now, I'll explain what a brony is. It's a man who loves My Little Pony, and they have conventions, and they dress up in My Little Pony stuff, and Hardy's desire to cosplay. I like that the community is stepped in, and your personal friends are handing you clothes that you can pretend to be in.
Yes, in another instance, we might call them enablers, but
Yeah.
I just call them friends.
Okay.
All right, so this piece of mail is addressed to me, Rob Hardy Poole, but it also says on the back, for the next time Little Miss Beauty Queen cries about his glamour shots not coming out perfect.
Oh, by the way, update on the photos. There is no update.
I literally can't get the photographer to email me back now, which I
I
don't
got
know if it's
no.
because he works
There's been an update.
part-time.
I got granted access to the emails. So I can look at it now.
Yeah, we got one photo. We access to one
It's
photo.
a really good photo. I think we should
Photo
just use
like
it.
this.
I don't have a problem with using it. I'm just.
I want the rest of the photos.
Yeah, like Adam asked for all the photos.
There's a process.
Yes, I
Yes.
agree with Adam. I don't understand why he's being so obstinate. Do you think it's willful?
I don't know that he is.
Okay.
He could be working part time. I don't know what
right,
other
he could have,
projects.
like,
Because if he's doing sales related stuff right now, that's where his head is at.
Sure,
Probably.
no
But at
prob-
the same time,
right.
it was Thursday, and now it's Tuesday, so I'm starting to scratch my head a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're emailing him and he's not getting back to you.
Yeah, I can't even get a reply now.
Right.
That's not right. That's
It's
just
odd.
nice.
It's just odd.
Not nice.
More than
Not
anything.
nice to start with.
It's not.
Yeah.
And he didn't take the original photo, so there's no reason he should be pissed off at me.
I don't get it.
All right, go ahead.
For the next time Little Miss Beauty Queen cries about his glamour shots not coming out perfect, and inside this manila envelope is a brown paper bag with the eye holes cut out. And what does it say on there, Fred?
Fred-Eva.
Fred Diva.
Well, but it doesn't say that.
It
You
does
have to
say
admit.
that.
It says.
It says it as much as what
Fred-Eva.
Maz has said.
Yeah, whoever's operating with the brown paper bag comic prop is not succeeding. I don't want to touch it.
I think it's working.
I don't want to touch it.
I think it works
I'm not
on every
touching
level.
it. What is it about the paper bag that makes the jokes fall so
Fred
incredibly
physically
flat?
moved away from the paper bag.
There's nothing in there.
The unknown
not
comic in
touching
all of us.
The Rice and Elvis situation happening. Be
Once
careful.
again, the Fred Diva.
Ryan's joke.
emerges. He won't even
Yes.
touch the brown paper bag.
Well, now it's a thing. Now it's become a thing. Now
Lord.
I'd be surrendering my manhood if I did. All right.
You don't want to put one of these helmets on?
No.
I'm so
Seriously,
excited
would,
to wear
would Calvin like the helmet? He's a little bit
Well,
older now.
Okay, so I told you when we were out there cutting limbs in the fall and we were, taking down some trees, I said, we're saving these big suckers for the spring. We got some more work to do. And, he, do I have to? How long is it going to take? His voice is deeper than mine now, which is hysterical. Yeah. How long is it going to take? You know what? Way longer. The more you ask, I'll make up ways to make this last longer. But once he started using that pole trimmer and taking limbs down, he got into it. But these would be helpful. These, seriously, you need something to
Right, if
cover
you're
up.
cutting down limbs, well, them could obviously fall and hit you in the head.
Hell yeah! So yeah, he'll put this thing on. Well, not this one. I've already adjusted this to my.
Are you setting expectations too high?
For him?
Yeah.
Probably.
All right.
But he's not listening. None of them listen.
They don't listen ever.
No.
I found out that my wife does. I think
Really?
she does it secretly. Yeah.
I mean, how could you not if you were an adult and your husband, you wouldn't be at least curious? My ex-wife stopped listening. I know that because it was annoying her, my voice. So I understand that. Because my kids will ask to listen to me. My kids like that I'm on the radio. It's weird. They'll ask to listen, and then begrudgingly, my ex-wife will put me on because occasionally she'll go, I heard you. And I'll go, uh-huh. There you go. I get it. All right. Does anyone have any electronic emails they would like to read? I do.
I have one also.
I have a couple.
All right. Go ahead, John. I'll let you go first because I'm a gentleman.
We were discussing Josina Anderson, and we have an emailer here. Dave said, I was listening to the Todd McShay podcast yesterday. He's reporting the same thing as Josina Anderson, saying that there are evaluators that don't like Shedeur Sanders. He had two people that took interviews with Sanders, and they said he, quote, acted like he didn't care what they thought, unquote. So it's not just Anderson, possibly white quarterback coach, relaying how bad the interviews went.
Yeah, because Josina Anderson, without saying it, and she's being very cute, and I know we're playing into her hands, but it was more confusing than anything. She said a team with a top 7 pick said Shedeur Sanders was like a diva, basically. I'm not reading the tweet again. I don't feel like pulling it up.
It's 3 paragraphs long.
Yeah, it's
so
3
I
paragraphs
understand
long.
that.
And
Yeah.
it's like, the bottom line is, without question, she's insinuating like a team's quarterback coach is racist. She says the top 7 picks. So then you go, okay, it's the Jets, but they got a black head coach, but it's the quarterback coach. And then you look up the quarterback coach and he's black. So, and calling one of Deion's kids a diva is not a huge, first of all, it's not a racist trope, right? Like, it's not a stereotype. Like, all the blacks are divas, like, right? It's not like a stereotype.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's doing her thing, and she wants you to text her and go, oh, you're full of crap, and then she's going to text you back and go, look at me, I'm victimized.
Yeah, and try and call you out, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even do it.
Yeah, don't do it. All right, this is from Timmy. He says, hey, Fred, I'm going to start following Nick's friend, the guy who was in his bachelor party. Is he the one responsible for you crapping yourself and almost dying? Keep an eye on that. Was he at that bachelor party, the one that you eventually got sick and almost died, and then
let me throw him
now
on the
wife
mic real
found
quick.
you covered in poo?
Sorry, that was his bachelor party. Yes.
All right, so you have someone who is married with kids who on a Sunday afternoon is just saying random FUs to me on Instagram. You ask him about it, and he goes, I had nothing to do. Is it possible foul play, Nicholas? He's a psychopath.
Well, now that you are saying it out loud, it makes sense.
All right. Well, look, Nick, I don't know what to tell you. You were at the guy's bachelor party, and some friend he is to me, he was insulting me in such a way I thought I had done something to him.
Yep, that was the bachelor party was in Dallas.
Yeah, and that's the one you came back from, and you almost died.
I almost died.
And no one knows why. That's why you have a piece of plastic in your heart. And that
Thank you for being a friend.
And that could fall out at any moment. It says, hey, Fred, I'm going to start following Nick's friend and hope to push him over 25,000 followers so we can start to monetize his irrational hatred of you. I like the cut of his jib. Again, these were not insults, right? It wasn't like you're dumb or you're ugly or the show sucks.
Show sucks. You're not funny.
Yeah. Like all that is like valid observations, right? It was just F you. Like, and it was often, which is was puzzling about it. And I looked, and we had a mutual follower. We were both following Nick. So I texted Nick, and I said, do you know this guy? He goes, yeah, he was a groomsman at my wedding.
That's what friends are for.
And he's like, he's married, he's kids. He's like, I like the guy a lot. It's just weird. The internet's real weird. We're in some Orwellian thing here where we're all figuring it out. I don't blame the guy. Well, look, what are we going to do? I'm putting stuff that's getting wellness checks on me out there. Look, I've made my mistakes with the social media too. Who am I to judge?
Exactly.
I mean, but you could end up where?
In the Puzzle Factory.
Yeah, so you better be careful.
Yeah. Although you had a good time. You get them socks with the grippers on them. They let you take those home.
I did.
Don't put them in the dryer.
I did used to have a mug from like a Stanley basically from rehab, and my daughter would take it to school, and I'm like, maybe you should.
It's got the logo of the place on it.
Not the detox, but the rehab. Yeah, it had the logo of the rehab on it, and my daughter would take it to school. And so I was like, maybe this is not the world's best idea.
Then you get the phone call. That's not good.
Well, that would be, you know what? A phone call about what? Growing and evolving.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that I'm actively working on myself.
I'm sorry that this runs counter to the school's unwellness policy.
Yeah. Stupid school. What? You're the ones Instagramming me.
We did quite a bit of time this morning on C. Thomas Howell and his film Soul Man and his work in The Outsiders, which inspired Sarah and Everett to email me and said, Cam Neely was a Soch. I forget about this all the time. Cam Neely is in The Outsiders. You got to really know when to look for him and where to look for him. Yeah.
Did he want to be an actor?
He must. I mean, he's done enough movie stuff to where he's got an interest in it.
Well, because the Fairley brothers obviously are local guys, so that's why they cast them.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because that's not hockey related at all. He didn't get that role because he's Cam Neely.
No.
He must have wanted to be in Hollywood.
Where did he?
Today I died knowing that.
Yeah.
Which is something. Yeah. And you wonder if there's a purpose to all of this. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. Here are the headlines.
Essentials.
you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Hey, what's up? We're Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. What's going on, Hardy, with the world?
Something that we had talked about before. Do you know what Max is? Streaming service?
Yes, I do. It's HBO. It's
Correct.
the HBO one. Yes.
All right. Which took me a long time to figure out. I was the last person to figure this out. They have already announced, and this was, I believe, last week even now, so sorry, I'm just now getting to this, that its sports and news content within the streaming platform will remain a feature at no additional cost to standard and premium tier subscribers in the U.S., reversing plans to charge extra for the sports add-on. Because as I found out recently here, trying to pull things for one of our little silly little bits that we do, it's getting harder and harder to find stuff for free. Now, you've mentioned this before, Fred, how, like movies and TV shows can make money anymore because everything is on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not. The stuff that you used to be able to find for free is now behind paywalls of stuff that we already pay for. You have Amazon Prime. You have Prime Video. Oh, I'm going to pull up an episode of the Andrew Griffith Show. No, you're not. That's going to cost you $1.99. Wait a second. I subscribed to this. I got Netflix. I got, Hulu. I got all this stuff. You have to buy shows within the apps now. So Max was going to do this with some of their content, and they have decided maybe that's not such a good idea because they're starting to cut the cords on stuff that they used after they cut the cord.
Yeah, so here's what you got to do is you have to make your product valuable again. And I would start with releasing movies in the theater again. I know do a limited release, do something, make it like an event, because when you put it right to streaming, it doesn't have the same effect. And plus, you can charge for a ticket to a movie. A streaming thing is what a streaming thing is. And if you start getting greedy with it, and then another thing I would do is definitely I don't understand why YouTube gets to run with all this content without paying for it. That, you can watch basically anything that's ever been on TV or any scene from any movie on YouTube, and it's just an outlet where no one gets compensated for it. Like the artist doesn't get compensated for it. And that was where I would put 100% of my focus if I were these studios and these companies. Rather than overcharging my customer base, I would try to get them in, and then I would strictly enforce every copyright that I had. I would go after YouTube, quite frankly. That's the problem. If your content can only be accessed if you pay for it, then the artist and the company get what they deserve. There's a value on it. If the person wants to consume it, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. But when it's available for free all over the internet, that's unfair to the people creating the content. So that would be my number one priority.
All right. Do you want to hear what Travis Hunter had to say about his comparison, comparing himself to another superstar athlete?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is Travis Hunter comparing himself to Shohei Ohtani. We all heard that question, right?
Sure.
I don't know.
Essentially, what's more difficult, what you do or what Shohei Ohtani does?
Probably me, what I do in football, because it's a lot on your body. Tony, he's a great player, but you got to do a lot in football.
Yeah. Well said, Travis. And also, it appears that Colorado, you're real involved. But there's nothing on the body for Shohei Ohtani, considering the 162 games and 30 starts every year. The thousands of pitches that he's throwing. What Shohei Ohtani does is far more impressive.
Yeah, you're not
playing both ways in football.
Shohei's not getting hit, but beyond that, no, it's not. It's not even close.
No.
The two positions that you're playing are so comparable. I'm surprised more guys don't try it or have a chance to do it.
Like the punishment on your body, I would say is, look at Ohtani just had to have arm surgery a year ago. what Shohei Ohtani is doing is far harder on the body and requires more maintenance than playing in
it's
16
just
NFL
so
games.
much more difficult.
Well,
the
difficulty
entirely
of it,
different disciplines.
Yeah, the difficultness of it is unquestioned. I mean, Travis Hunter is fast and has good instincts, but that's
good hands.
Good hands, and that's what it is. And Shohei Ohtani has two separate disciplines.
Yes.
And being a starting pitcher is an incredible amount of focus and work, and then on top of that, taking at bats every day. What's Zolak doing? What does he want to say? All right, forget it. I guess nothing.
He's the best.
Oh, he's coming in.
Oh, he's coming in.
Good. Thank goodness.
He's got something to say.
Nope.
Nope.
What was Zolak doing, Adam?
He wanted to get in the talk back and start yelling at you.
Oh,
he's all keyed up. He sat in a lot of traffic today. I can empathize with
that's
that.
a lot
That
of fun.
sucks.
When he does that. That's too bad. I missed out on that.
That'll do it for us. As we bid you adieu. Zolak's all fired up, so you got that going.
Oh, he's got the helmet on. Hardy is not liking this at all.
Backwards.
No, the
back.
dial goes in back, so.
Yeah.
Dial goes in back.
Some everyman
There you
doesn't
go.
even know how to put on the National
Perfect.
Grid hat. All right.
Very large dome. Yes.
That'll do it for us, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.